The Bat family had ruptured from the day Jason died, and the old partners had started moving in a direction that he wished could never happen. It was the reason that they found Emperor's words appealing and were interested in seeing his changes to the world. Both of you are walking a thin line. Any moment you could end up having innocent blood on your hands. Where will you stop and how can you judge? Not every criminal is so easy to spot like the big names. How will you know if the person wasn't being forced? Can you really deny that you find it easier to kill now? It is easy to say that you can control yourself, but your actions are testament of your fall. You reinforce my views. As for Raven, I truly apologize for my cold treatment, but what I suggested is better than what the result can end up being. You shouldn't let your emotions blind you to the reality of the situation. Emperor hasn't done anything criminal-like at the moment, but it is very likely that he will start a killing spree. Don't let your emotions blind you to this fact, as we need to work together for this threat. If he is truly the will of humanity, then we have a powerful being to face, and he most likely has abilities to influence humanity. Keeping that in mind, you should second-guess your conclusions, as they might not be real. Batman spoke in a cold tone. He had been seeing many of his colleagues consider such an option, only outsiders didn't think about it as they were afraid of causing problems. Even Flash had suggested similar things as he was working in the police force, and asked him to try to enter politics to fix the problem of criminals escaping all the time. The Justice League wasn't impotent and ignorant. They knew what the government was playing at, but they could do nothing. Killing villains could also lead to villains teaming up and starting a war. The current situation was a mess, and Batman just couldn't take the steps required. He was a logical person, but he had fear of such power in his hands. It was the reason he hadn't tried to gain superpowers when he could easily do so. He could become part Kryptonian or whatever he wanted. He could have the Speed Force or magic. It was fear of being what he hated. He had seen other futures where he became a maniac, where his colleagues had gone haywire. We will see what he does, and I prefer being emotional to giving upon my friends. And, congrats, you can finally lay down your regrets. Nightwing sneered as he walked away. He was tired of staying around Batman when the man wouldn't listen to reason. He was part of the family but didn't work with Batman. Seeing that the meeting had turned into a mess, the members dispersed except Black Bat. Catwoman looked at Batman before shaking her head and leaving. The words of the Emperor kept ringing in her head. Batman had already planned to take them all down if they went too far, and he was once again reminded of that kind of reality. It was not a good thought. In the shadows he looked lonely. Black Bat put her hand on his back and tried to give him some warmth. Everything will be okay. All this drama was witnessed by Naruto through the seals he had placed on the members, and he finally understood which members to target. Catwoman and Batgirl seemed easy. Nightwing looked problematic. Naruto watched the meeting to better understand the people around him. The scene allowed him to plan his future steps with better understanding. He intended to win them to his side, so he had to study them. Naruto loved conflict, but it was better to avoid conflicts when possible. Though at this point it was clear that JL would fight against him. Batman was clearly too far gone at this point to change suddenly, and it was a mental condition. Naruto had many things planned for him so he could end up having JL under his command in the future. Having his companions join was only the start of the game. Batgirl and Catwoman would join very easily, while Nightwing could be problematic because of the power he held. Titans were too strong for Naruto to actually control. Raven being the main culprit, she was too strong and she could end up reading him. To get the Titans on his side, he had to convince Raven, as the others weren't really a problem once that was done. Red Robin was part of Young Justice, another team that could take him down in a fair fight. Superboy, Wonder Girl, Kid Flash and Miss Martian were a big problem even alone. Together they would take him out. Nonetheless, Naruto was happy to see that his words had an effect. Batgirl was friends with Supergirl and other girls in the Birds of Prey group, and he could end up recruiting them if Batgirl joined him. Birds of Prey was a group made by Batgirl when she had been incapacitated, and it was mostly composed of weaklings, but then there was Vixen and Power Girl. Power Girl, being the alternative Supergirl, rarely helped and wasn't very active. Vixen had interesting powers that Naruto wanted to learn about, and finally there was Katana, who had the cursed blade that got his attention, making him think about souls and weapons. What if the weapon could grow by devouring souls? Could he make a weapon tied to his soul? All these questions popped up when he saw data on Katana from Huntress, who was also part of the Birds of Prey at occasions. The world was dark, but there was so much out there to learn. Learning and experimenting was something Naruto liked a lot, so this fulfilled his desires spectacularly. Moving on, he had done a lot in a single day, but it wasn't over yet. "Hello, James. I hope you don't mind some company." Naruto greeted the man called James Gordon, Commissioner Gordon. It was late night and the man was on the rooftop of the police HQ in Gotham. He was an old man nearing his 60s and an ally of Batman. He had fought to fix Gotham for decades and it had cost him everything. Only his adopted daughter Barbara brought him some joy these days, and he was worried about her safety as Batgirl and an active officer. He was watching the city with a cup of coffee and a cigarette in his mouth when he heard those words. His reaction would have been to drop the cup and get his gun, but he didn't make such actions because of the influence. Instead, he looked to the side and saw Naruto in a calm manner. James didn't have any idea about Naruto since they hadn't caught any criminal that had come across Naruto. His appearance didn't shock James, as the old man was used to seeing the wackiest of stuff. Seeing that he couldn't fight the man and the man didn't seem to have any intention to kill him, James went along with it. He knew how to play the game and understand the situation. "I don't mind, mister. You can call me Emperor." Naruto introduced himself properly so that James understood the situation and even told him about his actions. "What do you think, James? Will my actions bear fruit, or is Gotham actually cursed?" James was truly shocked to hear all these details. He was really tired now, as heroes won't kill and the government was acting evil majority of the time. It was really hard to kill these powerful criminals when they had everything in their bags. James didn't blame the heroes for their actions, as he knew what would happen once they started such a thing. Those folks were selfless and doing so much already. Taking this step would put them against countries completely. Normal people were extremely gullible and ate up everything that was told to them without fact-checking or applying logic. The heroes would not just have to kill criminals, as they would have to invest time in PR and whatnot. Regardless, the steps taken by Emperor were different. James hadn't really thought re-educating people, and looking at the man and listening his voice, it was hard to deny him. "I am unsure, but it does have an element of success. Do you have any success stories in other places?" James answered honestly and wanted to know how sure he was about these steps. Naruto smiled. "Yes, I do. This isn't the first time. I have applied similar methods in multiple cities before Gotham, and all of them were a success. Humanity likes to speak a lot about freedom, but you are never truly free, and sometimes it is better to not have complete freedom. An evil king can ruin the whole, but a good king can fix all. All systems are the same in this regard. I can assure you with my actions that I am just, and since I am immortal, you never have to worry about a failed inheritor. I am confident that Gotham will start changing in a week and fully transform in a month or two." James nodded and agreed with his words. All systems were the same in the end, and it just depended on the people inside of it. "Why are you actually here?" James decided to get to the point. He knew Emperor wanted something from him, but what? "James, I like people such as you. You are a courageous and righteous man. As for your question, James, I am the Emperor. I don't indulge in the lower world, as that is for others to handle. I am not like your heroes that I will fight crime when I can have others do it for me. I will have the police become competent enough to handle all problems in Gotham. Only big problems will be handled personally." James didn't expect those words, but they made sense in a way. It also told him that the name wasn't just a name. "I wish we could do that." James took a puff with a heavy tone. His department lacked weapons, training, and information to handle the current criminal world. "You can do that, as I will make sure of it. I have fixed your men all around Gotham, not just the criminals. I have given them a boost in courage and morals while giving them fighting skills. Some of them I have even boosted to peak power so that not even Batman could beat them without his tech. Now it is your turn, James. You will lead them and make sure that Gotham doesn't fall back down." Naruto turned to him and placed his hand on James' shoulder. This was another shock. James could have never have seen this step coming. "Do you really trust us with such a thing?" "I don't. I trust my power, and that is enough. I have taken the safety measures in account, so you will never be a source of corruption. To give you a boost in morals, I fixed your son." "What? What do you mean?" James lost his calm as James Jr. was mentioned. "I fixed his mind. He was mentally and deceiving you about taking the proper medicine. He was still torturing people and killing without your knowledge." Barbara Eileen and James Gordon conceived James Jr. shortly before arriving in Gotham City while they were still living in Chicago. Gordon quickly attracted the wrath of mobster Carmine Falcone, and a hitman named Johnny Vitti was sent to kidnap his infant son. James Jr. was thrown off a bridge and only rescued by the timely intervention of Batman. Due to the incident, James Jr. and his mother left Gotham City. A few years later, James Jr. was kidnapped by Arnold Flass, the former member of the GCPD, who wanted revenge against James's father, Jim Gordon. James Jr. was taken back to Gotham, where he was tied up inside a sack that was then hanged on the edge of an abandoned bridge. James Jr. was rescued moments later by Batman. From a very early age, James Jr. showed signs of being different. He would kill animals and take them apart as a hobby. In one particularly disturbing incident, he was implicated in the disappearance of one of his sister's friends. While their family was on vacation, Barbara's friend Bess Keller teased James Jr. and was never seen again after wandering into the woods. When James Jr. returns to Gotham after many years, he begins secretly following his father. Barbara warns Commissioner Gordon not to trust him, but James Jr. confronts his father in a diner. He explains that he has started to take medication for his psychopathic tendencies and is trying to turn his life around. James Jr. announces he is planning to get a job helping the other mentally ill at Leslie Tompkins' clinic and asks his father to set him up with a recommendation from Dick Grayson. Naruto showed him the illusion about his meeting with James Jr. and where he had found him. He showed him the insides of his mind, showing the tired old man very disturbing things. His only blood-related child was a complete mess and was responsible for deaths. If Naruto hadn't interfered, this would have led to a father and son confrontation. James was devastated seeing those images. His heart hurt and he clutched his chest. He had failed as a father. He couldn't stop tears from falling. Looking down for several minutes in silence as he digested the ordeal, James looked towards Naruto. He didn't what to actually think, but he owed the man for what he had done for Gotham and his son. Thank you very much. James, you don't have to thank me for this. I didn't do this so that you would owe me a favor. I would have done it regardless, as my purpose is to save humanity. And my motto is that a doer of good deserves only good. Yes, I will reward good deeds and transform this corrupt society that is walking the path of destruction. I intend to teach them that being good is the only path, so a selfish bastard has no right to exist. This is a society where everyone is getting the advantages from teamwork, so none has the right to act like they owe nothing to society. Do you understand what I mean, James? Naruto helped him stand properly as the man was tired from the job and now he had gotten shocked many times. Looking into those red eyes, James should have felt fear and oppression, but he felt hope. The man was just too good and convincing. James couldn't stop his heart and mind moving towards Emperor. Even if he ends up being evil, he didn't ask me to act evil. I will just be doing my job, but better. James could find no reason to deny him anymore. What do you want me to do about the people you forgave? James wanted to ask to be sure and not make assumptions. Don't worry about them and let them free. They will die if they break my rules. Your job is to handle things from now on. Observe and react. Naruto replied while filling him with energy, increasing his life force and strength. James' body seemed to go back in time and was given a new peak. His wrinkles lessened, his hair became black and his body became muscular. James had become a little bit superhuman, and Naruto modified his weapons, guns, bullets, vest and clothes while passing him a dagger. James was almost overwhelmed by the changes but didn't let it distract him. Will I be able to contact you? I am always watching, so just call out to me in your mind. And I don't care if you share it with our friend Batman. Naruto turned around and started walking away. James was confused by the last words and only understood when Naruto said it directly before vanishing. James understood that he could hide nothing from the man, and he could read him easily. Looking towards the bat signal, James hesitated. He had been partners with Batman for 2 decades now. He owed Batman so much, but now he also owed the new player. James shook his head and decided to contact Batman. Emperor didn't mind, and Batman was a dear friend, even if he was crazy. With all that work done, Naruto cancelled most of his multiple minds and most of his clones. He left some clones hidden in each base using seals, so they didn't take his chakra. Using the seal, the clones would activate when he wanted them, and the energy would be trapped in place. Leaving one active clone with his mind inside, Naruto went to sleep. The clone dove into the planet to create a place that was only for him, where he could get the best training. Using the Earth-Fish projection technique, Naruto passed through the ground without any resistance and flew towards the center of the planet. Going deeper, he could feel the presence of the being that had taken him. It felt warm and safe inside. Extending his senses, Naruto found that there was something near the core of the planet. It was a high-tech lab and there was something very wrong with it. It was trapped in that place with unusual space elements involved. Naruto opted to stay away from it to avoid getting caught in an accident, as mastery over space wasn't good enough at the moment. Keeping distance from the lab, Naruto made a small base for use where he sat down in meditation to understand his new power-up and increase his connection to the universe. He also had to digest the new scientific and other information received from his victims. There was a lot to go through and understand, especially from the scientist under him. He was sure that he would be stronger the next day because of what he had just learnt. No matter what happened, Naruto never missed a day of practice. The next day, Naruto woke up at 6 a.m. It was the default time for him, and sometime he would wake up earlier or not sleep for it all. He was woken up by 4 females entering his room. The whole of Kind family, mother, and all 3 daughters. Chloe and Candace were joined by Mana and Maria. Mana was a voluptuous blonde with blue eyes and short hair. She was a high school teacher that rewarded and corrupted her students with sexual immorality. Maria was similarly attractive with short brown hair and purple eyes. She worked at finance firm and corrupted everyone in it, slept with everyone and broke their families. Before going to sleep, Naruto had fixed everyone in the apartments owned by George. He had erased the bad and fixed the people that he could. Those that had children with George, Naruto studied them carefully before rearranging them. Some of them weren't bad, so he just made it that they had never been corrupted. Only few women among the many were already problematic. Naruto fixed them by making them understand the concept of shame while helping their husbands to get away from them. He helped the poor guys avoid getting heartbroken and even found them partners that matched them. He did the same for the women that were being cheated. It was a disgusting thing done by both genders, and Naruto intended to make sure that it never happened under his rule. Such things destroyed society from the inside and compromised the future of children. As for the children, he didn't have to change most of them except 3 of them. Those girls were completely corrupted by George and the succubus family. Naruto fixed them and changed people's memories about them. Naruto was careful and thorough since he wanted to help these people. Just erasing their memories was pointless because other people wouldn't play along, so he had to change everyone around them. Among the many things Naruto had learned, he had been taught about family and society a lot. Everything was dependent on these 2 things. Naruto was careful about families and wanted to make sure that they were perfect, so that society as a whole could be perfect. Nonetheless, Naruto also enjoyed getting woken up in such a manner, and he hadn't done anything for more than a month. He had been going through some intense workout. The sleep had brought him a lot of peace, and with these succubae around him, Naruto unleashed his carnal desire. Finishing up with bath, Naruto got ready and went to the dining room for breakfast. "Good morning, master." Roberta greeted him while Conan was sitting on the other side of the table silently, eating her meal. "Morning, Roberta. Hope you had a good night's sleep?" Naruto responded with a kind tone as he took his seat while the girls also took their seats around him. Seeing him talk this way wasn't unusual since George was always civil most of the time. He just had sick tastes and hobbies. Plus, Naruto had shifted all their memories so he didn't have to act like George. "George, you were so good today. I can't believe all of us were taken out so easily. Please say this isn't temporary," Candace asked in a sweet tone as she sat to his left. Naruto had made her stop calling him father as it made him feel uncomfortable. "Haha, thanks for the compliment. Don't worry, this will only get better." Naruto chuckled and patted her head. "Really, damn, can we go with the whole day? Or how about you join me at school today? You can even get some high school girls. How about it?" Mana asked as she started feeling horny. Her desire was still not completely fulfilled, and as a succubus the desire just grew. No, how about visiting my firm today? You could get some nice mature ladies, instead of little kids," Maria offered as she kept on licking the spoon proactively and squeezing her tits. "Darling, how about just staying home today and we can relax along with some girls from below? I can feel that you are still very hungry," Chloe whispered seductively as her hand rubbed his thigh. "So unfair, I want to stay with George today." Candace stood up and sat on his lap. Naruto wasn't new to such shenanigans, and it put a smile on his face, reminding of the normal days at his home. It wasn't exactly the same, but there was an element of familiarity. Naruto denied their requests as he wasn't interested in playing around with women, especially weak women. He did engage with many women, but all of that was a purpose. It was a good stress relief. He enjoyed it. He needed it for political powers or for loyalty. Finally, he needed good women to repopulate his clan with the best genes. Conan looked at him with a dull look as he conversed with the loose women. She was just grateful that Naruto had used sound seals, and not disturbed her with the mad howls of these females. Finishing up with the breakfast, Naruto left on a drive with Conan while his clone visited the Daily Bugle to give an introduction and explanation to the citizens. Daily Bugle was one of the biggest news outlets in the USA, and its HQ was in Gotham. It was owned by John Jonah Jameson. J. Jonah Jameson was raised as a child by Betty Jameson and his stepfather and Uncle David. David was an officer of the United States Army, a war veteran decorated as a hero. At home, however, David regularly abused his wife and son. As a result, J. Jonah Jameson grew convinced that no one's a hero every day of the week, and even the real heroes can't keep it up all the time. Jonah was a Boy Scout during his childhood. In high school, his interests were mainly boxing and photography. He met his first wife, Joan, when they both joined their high school's photo club. When the school's 3 top athletes started bullying him, he fought back and beat all 3 of them to a pulp. This impressed Joan, and they started dating. They married as soon as they finished school. Jameson began his journalistic career by becoming a part-time reporter for New York City's Daily Bugle while he was still in high school. In college, Jonah started a rivalry with Barney Bushkin, the editor of a campus newspaper who rejected Jonah. Barney would grow up to become the publisher of the Daily Bugle's rival, the Daily Globe. Eventually, Jameson purchased then financially floundering Daily Bugle, with money obtained from his personal assets and large inheritance. Hence, the Bugle was now owned by Jameson's own company, Jameson Publications. Jameson served as the newspaper's publisher and editor-in-chief, and revitalized the photograph-dominated tabloid format. In 1990, Jameson's company purchased the Goodman Building on 39th Street and 2nd Avenue in Gotham, and moved its entire editorial and publishing facilities there. The building became known as the Daily Bugle Building. Jameson's wife Joan died at some point under unrevealed circumstances. She and her husband had only one child, John, who became an astronaut for NASA. For decades, Jameson used his newspaper to crusade in support of civil rights for minority groups and against organized crime. His efforts in the latter area led to his nearly being killed on orders of the Prince Crime. However, Jameson's brush with death did not frighten him away from publishing attacks on and exposes of organized crime. He was a man of integrity and guts. He criticized everyone in a non-biased manner and made sure to do his job of informing the populace of what was really happening. That was until the government had enough of his interference and gave him a reason to bend. For his son, Jonah stopped being the warrior of true justice and could only speak freely when the people above didn't mind. Because of such restrictions, Jonah had become dispirited and rarely took part in the interviews personally, unlike the past. Fortunately, he got help from the heroes, and using his power he got the government and others to back off. Regardless, he had toned down a little bit, and it was hard to get the right facts with such powerful forces stopping him. Naruto arrived at the top floor of the Daily Bugle and found Jonah going through reports in his office. The man was in his 50s with white hair and some black hair. He was tall and had an average body frame. "Good morning, Jonah. I hope you have some time for me." Jonah was used to have secret visitors and just looked up from his desk while taking off his glasses, as he had trouble seeing things close to him. The armored figure didn't ring a bell. "Who are you?" "You can call me Emperor." Naruto took a seat in front of him and introduced himself. Listening to his introduction, Jonah found it a new experience. He thought it was just another hero or a villain. He wasn't afraid for his life and listened calmly while analyzing his guest through his speech and body language. I see. And you want to let people know through my channel, Jonah said as Naruto finished. He was intrigued and his mind was thinking of the questions about such steps. Yes, I want you to help me spread awareness. I am not a tyrant, Jonah. I want people to question me, but in a proper manner. You are such a person, I trust that you won't waste my time and spread lies for an agenda. I would have to delete you if you dared such a thing, Naruto said in a calm tone while taking off his armor, showing his Indra look to him. It was a surprising step as Jonah wasn't expecting him to reveal his features. You won't mind answering hard questions. What guarantee is there for the safety of my people? Jonah asked as he was worried that the man might have the building disappear when he was annoyed. Trust me, as I will never do such a thing. And look, Naruto smiled as he pointed to the side and Jonah found that there were cameramen recording them. I know it is hard to trust me since you don't know me, but you can trust your heroes to keep you safe. This is a live show, Jonah. Come on, play your part and ask away. Seeing that everything was taken care of and he received the go from his employees, Jonah was assured. Is this your real appearance? I thought you mentioned being the will of humanity. And, what does that mean exactly? This is just one of my looks. I can shift as I desire. Naruto responded as his form shifted to all kinds of shapes and colors. Will of humanity is exactly what I meant. I represent humanity as a whole, just like Gaia represents the earth. You mean that you are a conceptual being. Is there any proof of both those claims? Everyone at the top is aware of the existence of the Olympians and the rest. It is just the normal people that are unaware of such a thing. Look outside, and you will see that the world supports me. From this day forth, the will of humanity and the planet are one. Naruto responded and Jonah saw the weather change in Gotham from sunny to freezing cold. It happened across the planet for a brief second. Naruto's body became like energy, and reformed back into human form. These are questions that you will not comprehend the answer to. So let us ignore what I am, and focus on my intentions and actions. Jonah agreed. This was something he couldn't really verify, but he could get expert opinion to confirm his words. Wonder Woman came to mind when talking of such things. Right, so what is your purpose? I desire to lead humanity to a new frontier, stronger and smarter than ever. Humanity as of now is slipping because of many factors. We have allowed humanity to move freely, but after so long we concluded that direct intervention was necessary. Human beings today are weak, emotionally, physically, and mentally. That is against what I stand for. Human beings are social creatures that can't live outside of society. But this society has become corrupted over time, and no one has made any progress in fixing this issue. People have become extremely selfish and self-centered that they are causing the collapse of humanity while living in their delusions. Look outside and you will see that there are people who actually trust blindly. Can you really trust a politician? Can you trust a business? Can you trust anyone blindly? No, that is wrong. Question and fact-check always when you have the chance. But this simple and basic thing escapes the common man. They follow media and politics blindly, not knowing that those in power have personal interests and those interests don't have to align with the people. You curse these politicians but actually expect them to not actually kill you when it serves their interest. It doesn't matter where you go, as people in power work together and act like they are in conflict to keep you the normal people at bay. They are paid by the other people in power to trick you and get their objectives completed. How can you trust large businesses? Are you people even aware how much waste these people create? There are millions of tons and gallons of food products and even other products destroyed every year. Do you believe that all products just get bought or they disappear by magic? No, they get destroyed instead of being sold at lower prices or given to the needy. These people do not care for anyone's well-being, and all their actions are calculated. The world can easily support everything, and it is the people in power that increase poverty and depression. Humanity doesn't exist to just work, and this is an inefficient system that has increased the amount of human beings that are like robots. You don't really have any real opinion. You just parrot what has been fed to you, and it is easy to see because you will fall apart once questioned. I want to change all of this and lead people to a better future. I want people to become stronger in all manners and innovate, grow stronger to reach the heights of all those other alien species. I become stronger as you become stronger. I am the will of humanity, so our lives are connected from birth, Naruto replied while controlling light to create his presentation. He had collected data from multiple people and was aware of many more things that humanity was part of. Jonah could see that his guest was prepared for this talk. He also agreed with his words and proof. He knew about the immoral acts of large corporations like Nestle, Amazon, and many more. Even grocery stores would discard food that was good for consumption, but wouldn't give it a lower price or free to the needy, because it would affect the level of demand and price. The companies would artificially control the supply and price by destroying the products when they saw that it was higher than demand. These companies would destroy $1 million worth products to keep their hold on consumers. Grocery stores would even post guards on garbage bins so that people wouldn't take things from there. Jonah hadn't expected Emperor to open about such a topic at all. It was easier to handle the politicians than the business community and their immorality. That is kind of you, but how are you going to fix this? Do you really have a plan in mind? Of course I have a plan in mind, Jonah. I never move without a plan. I could easily just start the process with a big step like killing of every weakling on this planet and get a head start. But that is contradictory to my existence, and it is not just, I want the people to love me and follow me by their own will, judge me by my actions and really look into it. If you want to be real humans and not just some mindless drones, I will become your ultimate leader for all eternity. There have been empires, but they fell and got corrupted once a new inheritor took place or the emperor wasn't a man of morals. I will never bend my rules for anyone, and I will listen to your criticism before responding in a just manner. Know that you have the right to question my actions. Getting back to topic, the things I have planned are many. Just yesterday I cleaned out most of Gotham. I tortured the criminals according to their crimes and gave them a second chance at life. None of you were aware of my existence, and currently I don't rule this planet. The second chance is because of that reason, and if you try to play with me, you get erased. All the criminals got a warning, and I put them to work to repay their debts to society. For the low-end criminals, I have even given them knowledge so that they can do something in life. Furthermore, I have strengthened the police force and cleaned them up as well. Remember, I am the emperor, so it is beneath me to fight little crime. This is the first step, and it should clear out the air and start the journey towards a better life. The next step would be educating the people. All this evil doesn't just appear out of thin air. Society is to blame for such a thing. You people are accountable for what you are going through. People living in a neighborhood have no care for others and might not even know each other. You have to understand that alone, you will fall, but together you will succeed. Civilization is built upon teamwork and not by a single person. Throw that out of your mind, that you as an individual have no obligation to society. If that is your thought, go and live in a jungle away from society where you are independent of others. Society has started to celebrate the worst in humanity: selfishness, immorality, and other vile acts. It is society that actually believes that being good is wrong and helping others is wrong. No, it is not wrong. It is wrong that those people are treated in a vile manner. There is no reward for good other than good. That is how I operate, and this is how you should operate if you don't want humanity to continue sinking. The only reason you are alive is because not every one of you is a vile being, and that you have been blessed with selfless people that give up everything for your survival. I intend to encourage humanity to become closer to each other and clear themselves of the negative things in life, through various means, and fear is one of them, along with rewards. Yes, I will reward good deeds. I am always watching, and for all the good you have done, I will reward you appropriately. I will make this a beautiful world and take over once people accept me. The government doesn't matter, as they don't represent anyone. Jonah couldn't help find himself pulled towards the man. His words were just too powerful. He could see the image being painted, and there was desire to see it. How can you decide if someone deserves to live or not? How do we know that you are being just and fair? Naruto smiled and tapped the desk as he put his right leg on his left. The answer is very simple. I know everything about you. You are an open book to me, and remember, I am will of humanity. You can trust me, or ask for the reason for their deaths. Though you don't have to, since I will inform everyone publicly why someone was killed. Just like this, I can show what I read. You can base the rest on my actions in other fields and what you have seen of my character. I will slowly transition to becoming a public figure, so you will see me in everything and know everything about me. How are you going to handle the heroes and the government forces? Are they evil in your eyes if they fight you? No, I don't mind if someone fights against me, though I prefer avoiding a conflict that has no reason. I intend to get everyone on my side and kill only when necessary. This all looks great and all, but what if you fall? What if someone kills you? What if you become corrupted? Jonah was getting heated up now, and the show was being watched by hundreds of millions of people. Naruto's voice was too magnetic, and his features attracted people along with his words. Plus, Jonah was very much respected in the world for his honesty, and he had influenced people to create change. That is a valid question, and the answer might not satisfy most people. You just have to believe in me and keep me in check. That is the reason I desire to have strong and intelligent people on my side. I stand with open arms to welcome such people. I want you to question me and remind me of my purpose whenever I am influenced. I can't die unless all of humanity vanishes. I am your will, an eternal will, as I will not allow you to disappear. Corruption can happen as humanity is not strong enough at the moment, meaning I am not invincible. But it is a difficult job, and it can be easily avoided by you becoming stronger in all fields. We have a symbiotic relationship, people. Grow stronger and I will grow stronger. This is a continuous process, and we will go higher and higher. Where will you stop? What is this new frontier? That is up to you. What do you desire? This solar system, this galaxy, the whole universe, or the multiverse as a whole? It is up to you to decide where we will end up. I am your will. I am your emperor. Alone we will fall, and together we will fly. Naruto ended with those lines and stood up while the recording went offline. The people became silent and contemplated his words. It was the magic involved. Gaia was helping him, and Naruto had noticed it, so he was very much confident in his step. Emperor, this was a nice show. I feel enlightened and filled with fire. I am unsure where you will go, but I will support you according to your actions. I hope from the depth of my heart that you have spoken the truth. This world needs a leader, and I don't mind if it is a monarch." Jonah stood up and spoke his opinion. He was truly impressed by the words spoken and what he had seen. The man in front of him didn't force anything and explained. He gave examples and proof. He was a man of action, and it was time to watch things unfold. "I appreciate those words, and I hope you will keep this strong spirit. Keep on questioning me, so that I will remember that there are people who won't just bend to my whim. Take care, and we will meet again on a later date." Naruto shook his hands and gave him a hug, giving him a boost in power. Jonah reached peak human level in strength, and his mental abilities were boosted. Naruto gave his protection as seals were carved into his bones. With that, Naruto left the man to contemplate and watch just like the rest of the people. Leaving the Bugle building, Naruto came across his guest. Superman had flown directly to Daily Bugle once he heard the news. He already got the information from Batman, and he also listened to the whole conversation. Clark Kent was a survivor from Krypton, and raised as a human unlike his cousin Supergirl. He represented hope and willpower. He was a kind and gentle soul, raised up on excellent morals by his parents. With the power to lift the planet with utter ease and destroy the solar system by just diving into the sun, he held the ultimate power to rule the world. But he didn't. He didn't desire such grand things and loved his simple life as a journalist. He was a handsome guy with strong muscular frame, black hair and blue eyes. "How can I help you, friend?" Naruto greeted him in a kind manner, no arrogance or discrimination. Naruto liked the guy for his selfless attitude, simple desires and his power. Unlike Batman, Superman had many reasons to avoid killing people with his hands. He was an outsider, and could be easily painted as a villain. "Care for a cup of coffee?" Clark replied as he saw that the man didn't mind being civil. It was rare for people in their position to act in a friendly manner. He was one of the rare ones along with people like Flash and Hal. The duo walked into a diner nearby while people watched them with surprise clear on their faces. Superman was a well-known figure, and they had just learned about Naruto. His interview had been playing on the TV and had taken their attention until all of it was finished. To people who followed Superman closely, they would remember a similar scene with Flash. Both men had eaten lunch at a diner. It wasn't just Flash, as the Man of Steel had been seen enjoying the normal things with other heroes as well. Seeing Emperor with him increased Naruto's reputation in their eyes as a force of good. The diner became extremely quiet as the duo took a seat and the waitress took their order. All of them were curious what they were going to talk about. "So, how's life been treating you?" Naruto asked as they took a seat. "There were fluctuations over the years, but it has been great recently. What about you?" Clark responded casually like he was sitting with a friend. Naruto was intent on treating him in a friendly manner, so Clark reciprocated those feelings. "Though I had the displeasure of witnessing atrocities and handling disappointment for humankind, I am feeling fantastic as I love being active, and knowing that there are people like you in this world. The selfish and dark heart is a disgusting thing, so I really love feeling the positive from people like you. This is not act. To me you are a friend until you break my rules. You may be a Kryptonian, but to me you are human because you believe that you are part of this world, and you have earned that right. You deserve it more than majority of humanity." Naruto responded as he took in Clark and told him the honest feelings. Naruto hadn't and couldn't read Superman's mind for the same reason he couldn't with the Bat family. JL had safety measures taken against people like him. Regardless, Naruto had data from all kinds of people and could make a proper conclusion based on it. The data impressed him, and he would very much love to have the man stand by his side. But before that, something's needed to change. Just like Batman, Superman would try to stop him as he believed that every living being had a right to exist. People like Naruto who slaughtered people without blinking were the exact opposite of Superman. Getting back, Clark was flattered to hear those words. It was very surprising and very rare for him to hear it from other people in his field. "Thank you. I am flattered by your compliments. Does this mean you get power from me?" Clark smiled and asked the question that came to his mind. Naruto mentioned that humanity powered him, so did it also count him? "Yes, as long as you believe you are part of humanity, then I will get the benefit from even non-humans." "How does that make you feel?" Clark didn't know what to feel about that at the moment. "That depends on your actions." "Good, and what do you think of me now?" "I feel like we can be good friends from the first impression. I just wish that you wouldn't start killing people." "I already killed in the thousands, Superman. Killing is unavoidable, unless you are asking me to take back free will from humanity. We are at the starting line at the moment, so I can't ensure 0 deaths. It will take few years at max, and then you will never have to worry about crimes and such. Humanity will work together, and all of us will be able to focus on outside threats. Doesn't that sound better? Or, do you prefer watching people commit petty crimes and innocent civilians dying? You are already aware of the problem in the system, so why not give me a chance? I will prove with my actions that I am the better choice. Humanity needs a powerful leader with an iron fist to keep them in check. Unchecked freedom only leads to anarchy, as desires will lead to confrontation and crimes. Clark couldn't deny those points as he had seen things clearly for decades around the world. It wasn't just the top, as people were corrupt at all points in life. The corruption had set into people and become normal. Societies used to be positive and friendly, but now there were many broken families and general aggressiveness in societies. There was high level of selfishness along with unchecked sexual immorality that was completely poisoning everything. Adultery was on the rise and children were being born of it. It affected both genders, but in the last decade, women had won that race by miles. Women in the modern society would have more than 20 partners by the age of 25. The media of all kinds supports such a thing, and discourages loyalty and persistence in relationships. All these snowball into unhappy marriages and increase in divorce. Any person that has gotten used to sleeping around would most likely not settle for a single partner, and that is especially true for women. Women in society are encouraged to indulge in immorality, and they don't realize that they treat themselves as products. When you sell pictures or videos of your naked body, you have become a product, and you are aware of the use of that product. Moving on from sexual immorality, businesses were busy trying to make everything into a product and reducing human rights one by one. Large organizations were manipulating people and doing whatever they wanted freely, and just apologizing when they get caught. People starving and homeless while there were millions of empty apartments and houses. Barely anyone found such situations wrong, and it had become the norm of society. Was this really what humanity had become? Was this outdated system truly the best we could do? Did majority of the people just exist to work low-paying jobs to slave away for the minority? Would the system help these people when robotics was allowed to advance to a level where human labor could be replaced? Clark knew the answer to the questions, and they were not looking positive. The current system didn't care about human life, and once robotics took over, poverty and unemployment was going to rise without stop. It's not because technology was bad, but the humans at the top were cruel and inhumane. This was the reason that Batman and the rest of the heroes hadn't given technology to these bloodsuckers. Even the government kept it out of their hands. This did lower the rate of advancement, but that was a calculated sacrifice that was acceptable. Only with a proper system such things should be let free into the world. People at the top had to come up with answer to the questions, and Clark could sadly say that he didn't trust them to do the right thing. To make matters worse, alien forces were moving in and making use of such weakness in humanity. People were unaware of the real dangers out there, as true slavery of the worst kind was just a single mistake away from them. Clark looked at the friendly-looking figure and couldn't imagine any tyranny from him, but he knew that looks were deceptive. Was Emperor also one of those alien threats? Was he really a friendly neighborhood will of humanity? All these thoughts went through Clark's mind in less than a nanosecond. Don't kill the criminals and I will support you, Clark put forth, and Naruto's smile widened, but it was easy to tell that he was annoyed. Naruto put his hand on his face and massaged his head. Superman, do you really understand the human mind? Do you not know why crime has continued to increase instead of decrease over time? I know you don't like it, but fear is useful and necessary at times. Criminals have zero need to be afraid while committing a crime. If they know that they can live through the ordeal, they can just come with an escape plan later. To make matters worse for you, the prison is a private business and criminals can pay the owners to help them out. I don't have to tell you such a thing. You are a smart guy. Let's forget all this and just go by morals. Is it moral to value the life of a criminal above that of an innocent? If a man or woman is raped, how is that person punished? If a person is murdered, what is the punishment that is appropriate? In both these extreme cases, the victim is never really compensated. Let me ask you, how would you feel if your lover was raped and traumatized while the criminal was just jailed? What if that criminal got out safely? What if your loved one was murdered and tortured? Will you be happy that the criminal is living normally behind bars? Remember, human beings are logical, but there are many times that they are just emotional. Do you think the victims are satisfied with this result? Do you think such punishment has done its job to compensate the victim and discourage people from the crime? You should understand why the death penalty was removed from most things, and things were spread to discredit its effectiveness. Barbaric it might be, but seeing it with your eyes is truly the only method to keep people in check. Naruto was speaking to Clark in an honest manner and even showing his emotions. This was to win Clark over, as the man was sensitive and Naruto had nothing to lose from it. This way he showed the people that he wasn't some emotionless monster. All those questions were filled with power, and everyone that heard them could feel helplessness and rage in their hearts. Do you intend to start public executions? Clark couldn't answer the questions as he was unwilling to even think about such things happening. The words spoken whispered to the edges of his heart, and he knew that he would kill without discrimination if such a thing took place. I won't need to, because people will know that I know what you do, and everyone will know the results and why they took place, though if necessary then I will partake in such an act. I know who is wrong and who is not. The doer of good is to be rewarded. The evil scum has no right and forsook the right to be considered part of humanity. Your naive approach of treating them like human has cost millions of lives, and it will delay my plans for the future. These things don't deserve anything if they can't even change after what I put them through. They are fortunate that I didn't just erase them. You won't be able to stop me, Superman. It is a futile effort. People will support me and start to hate you as time goes on. This is a game that you can't win. The result has been set, so I only ask of you to remain neutral and join me once my actions bear fruit. Or, you could stand by my side and keep me in check. What do you think? Naruto stood up and looked down on him before dispersing into light green energy that flew into a nearby civilian. Clark looked at his confident smirk and to the people around them, and he could see that they were heavily influenced by his words. His future plans were set, and hearing him talk, it was obvious that he had confidence in his actions. If things truly went along his plans, people will fall in love with him and hate anything that came against him. Nations will fall if he was truly the will, and with Gaio on his side that would be hard to resist, especially with the public on his side. It was obvious from his words that he despised people he considered scum. The last action was surprising and Clark was unable to stop it. His hand went through the energy and Naruto took over the body of the civilian. Naruto had mastered the use of chakra and clones to a very high level. Turning into chakra, he could infiltrate the body of others and cover them up. This way he could use the body like a puppet. He also utilized mind control, and the infiltration was to hide and strengthen the puppet. If I wanted to, I could control everyone. I can take away your free will at a whim, but that is counterproductive to my goals, Naruto said as he looked at Clark with the new body and used the body like it was his own, showing that he had full control. Naruto got out of the body, but it was still under his control. I don't want to talk to myself and stagnate. Looking at such robotic things is quite unpleasant. Naruto continued as he snapped his finger and the man snapped out of it. Clark was lost in thoughts because of what he had heard and seen. He was incompatible with Emperor and couldn't fight him. Zatanna, Shazam and Dr. Fate would be the best candidates if a fight took place. But it wasn't just the fight. He was just too good with his words and hadn't left him a chance to retaliate. It was clear from the people and he knew what they wanted: death for the criminals. You won't mind my presence by your side? Clark took a breath and asked as Naruto sat down while the coffee finally arrived along with some pastries. I won't, but you can't interfere with my action plan. I will target every evil scum, give them the appropriate punishment and put them on a mission to repay their debts. I am not sending them to prison at the moment, and the only people that will go to prison will be small-time criminals, thieves and such. I will heal the world, people and the environment. I will have people invest in the necessary services and productions, while spreading my message to teach people a better way at life. You can be part of that, and it will make it easier. Naruto answered the question with a happy tone before taking a sip from his cup. I will think about it and get back to you, but I will stop you if you step out of line. Clark warned in a harsh tone and hoped that it never came to such a point. That's what I wanted to hear. I really like you a lot and we are friends from today, okay? Naruto smiled and extended his hand. Clark looked into his eyes and really couldn't get a read on him. Was this real? Ignoring a hand of friendship was a Batman thing to do, so Clark took the hand. I would be happy to. Good, so let's move on from the serious topic and relax. How's your love life going? Want some help? Clark blinked hearing that. Do you also dabble in love talk? I do. I also have emotions of love and know a lot about pleasure of the soul and flesh. I was thinking you might be having an issue. Thanks for the offer, but we got it settled. Oh, should I expect a tiny Superman sometime next year? Don't you know the answer to that? I wanted to hear it from your mouth. It gets boring knowing everything. We are still thinking about it. Clark didn't say it, and Naruto didn't correct him. Lois was pregnant with his child, and she had been infused with Kryptonian DNA. Lois was now a halfling so that she could actually stay by Clark's side and give birth to his child safely. Similar to Nightwing, Lois had been unable to have proper intercourse with Clark. Clark had to depower himself to the point of damaging his health if he wanted to sleep with Lois, or his semen would kill Lois. To solve the issue, they got genetic modification similar to Lana Lang, turning Lois into a superwoman. Lana Lang was Clark's childhood friend. She had ended up getting hit by radioactive energy from Clark when his powers had become unstable. This almost led to her death, and Clark saved her by modifying her DNA. Lana Lang gained powers similar to Superman on a lower scale and became Superwoman. Lois preferred her job as a journalist, so she rarely ever helped out with hero business directly. She went by the name of Superwoman, while Lana changed her name to Ultrawoman. Well, I will be waiting for the day I can see some super babies. I know they will be good kids. What about Bats? When do you think he will get married? I met Kat. She was a good woman. Do you think they will settle down soon? I didn't take you for a gossip, Emperor. Naruto shrugged. Now you know this Emperor can be serious and carefree. Have you thought about having sports for super people? Doesn't that sound interesting? What do you guys think? Won't it be fantastic watching Superman play football or soccer? Just imagine the scene with superheroes. All around them, images popped of such scenery and people couldn't help but agree. That sounded pretty awesome. Clark couldn't help but shake his head and smile. Emperor truly was a friendly guy. He spoke to the heart of people and was very much relatable. He didn't just go on a tirade about complex topics that the common man wouldn't grasp, and he didn't look down on people. From his demeanor, he seemed very approachable. Clark wished that this was the reality and not some fever dream. I don't think they would agree to such games. Most of them are quite serious. What about you? Will you play a game of basketball with me, or do you want to try a real Pokemon battle? Naruto asked as he transformed the ashtray into a basketball and created a Pikachu clone. Pika Pika. The cute little creature looked at Clark and jumped onto his head. It was clear flex of his powers, and Clark could see it. Pokemon battle please, the children called out, breaking the silence. Looking at the children, Clark caught the Pikachu. Okay, let us have a Pokemon battle. With much fanfare, the duo walked out of the diner and a crowd gathered in the parking lot. People went crazy on their phones and attracted more people to the humble location. Some started recording on their phones and taking photos. Naruto walked outside while his armor covered him up. He preferred wearing his armor while inside hostile and unknown territories. The talk with Clark was going well and his actions were planting the seeds of change and cooperation. Fighting was fun, but he didn't want a real fight with good people. Can we do this somewhere else? Clark asked as he saw the crowd and remembered covering the Pokemon game release. These little creatures were supposed to be destructive. He was finding it amusing and entertaining. But there was also uncertainty and unease. Emperor had just created a creature in front of him. What was the limit of that power? Relax. I have everything handled, Naruto replied as the ground rumbled and people found themselves in a stadium. The crowd was seated and protected behind a barrier while the duo was in the center. It wasn't a big battlefield, but it was enough for a small show. My lord, can we see a Groudon? Suicune, Mega Rayquaza, Mewtwo, Mew. The crowd was in an excited mood and wanted to see their favorite Pokemon. Naruto allowed it, and various Pokemon appeared in the battlefield. The crowd went wild with joy. For now, a small treat, and I will let the rest be a drive for you. Improve, and this world shall enter a new era. These creatures can be part of it. Naruto spoke to them and smiled as all the creatures disappeared except 2 Pikachu. Clark had a normal one while Naruto's Pikachu had a red ruby on his forehead. Clark saw many powerful creatures, even Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina. Those creatures had power over time, space, and black matter. Extremely powerful and destructive, it was quite worrying. Emperor could create without any sign of difficulty. I didn't think you had the power of creation. Why don't you make powerful human beings? I can't make human beings, just monsters. Humankind powers me, don't you? That would be too easy. I could indefinitely increase my power if that was possible. I suppose you are right, that would be too easy. Clark agreed and looked to the side. He saw some of his companions. Flash heard the news and ran to his side. Batman was watching from afar while Hal was also visiting and was seated with the crowd for their safety. Supergirl was intrigued and decided to make a visit. She was sitting on top of a nearby building with some vanilla and chocolate ice cream. Naruto also noticed them and waved at them. Looking at Kara, Naruto paused for a moment before moving back to Clark. Your family seems to have been blessed with the good look genes, Naruto said as he found Kara attractive in multiple ways. Her appearance and her aura, she had that rough edge that he liked. Naruto could sense her pain and loneliness. Unlike Clark, Kara had actually lived on Krypton and with her family. She was supposed to be older than him, but because of time shenanigans, Clark was older and Kara was just 19. She had been on Earth for 2 years now but still hadn't been able to adjust. Kara was different from Clark, as she didn't really care too much for the planet or the people. To her, humans were just another alien species and nothing more. She was friends with Barbara, but that didn't change her opinion about the rest of humanity, especially since they had tried to make use of her countless times. Kara had even fought against Clark multiple times and had to be stopped when she got angry. She had tried to kill Lex Luthor and other criminals at times. So she wasn't really liked by the government forces either. It was worse than Clark in that regard, and they had attacked her multiple times. All that was present in the public realm, and some came from the head of others. Naruto didn't get distracted by her presence, and put her to the back of his mind within few seconds. He was still not ready to get manipulative with such a character. Kara's problem was her family and the Kryptonians. Bringing them back to life wasn't impossible, but Naruto would like to avoid touching that field at the moment. What moves does my partner know? Clark asked as he stood with his Pikachu. He had a very strong mind and could recall anything that he had seen, so he remembered things about Pikachu. Thunder Shock, Thunderbolt, Thunder, Quick Attack, Agility, Iron Tail, Growl, Volt Tackle, Charge Tackle, and Double Team. Do you want me to explain? No, I remember. With those words, the crowd cheered as their hero also knew about Pokemon. It really made him approachable. Good. Let us have a fun battle. Naruto gave a nod as he lightly patted his Pikachu clone. His shadow clone transformed into the Pokemon. Naruto knew about creation skill that the Sage of Six Paths possessed, but he didn't have it. Yin and Yang mastery along with the mastery of the other primary elements was necessary for such arts. At the moment, Yin and Yang wasn't strong enough while the field was completely unknown and mysterious. Only way to go forward would be to increase mastery of the Yin element and summon the soul of the Sage, or get the knowledge from the Kyuubi. With those words, screens appeared on all sides so that the spectators could see clearly. Fight! With that announcement, Naruto's Pikachu jumped from his shoulder and landed on the ground. He growled and his speed increased, showing usage of agility. The aggressiveness of Naruto's Pokemon was enhanced by the sight of the red crystal. Use Quick Attack, Clark commanded, and his partner locked onto Naruto's beast. The little creature the size of a puppy charged forth with insane speed, disappearing from sight for normal human beings. Through the screens, they saw the little creature move. Iron Tail. It was one of the basic combos from the anime, but Clark didn't realize that Naruto used agility. Naruto was communicating through the mind while Clark had to give verbal commands. Ruby Pika moved to the side and used Iron Tail. Brace for impact, move back with a hit. Clark commanded and his Pika was hit on the side, sending it flying. Use Thunderbolt, Clark commanded to avoid his partner getting hit. Ruby used Charge and took in the lightning attack before charging forth with Quick Attack while stocking up on lightning that it looked like a Volt Tackle. Use Quick Attack and move to the side, Clark commanded, while the foe rushed forth with a powerful move. It would have been better if you could command with your mind. This is a one-sided battle, don't you think? Naruto teased as his partner stopped and used Volt Tackle, dragging Clark's partner and crashing into the wall. The crash was horrendous and large amount of electricity was released. Clark ignored the words since saying things wouldn't matter at this point. He was at a clear disadvantage, but that didn't matter either. This was just a game, and there was no need to take it seriously. People seemed to be having fun. It was their first time watching a super battle without fearing for their lives. I give up, Clark muttered as he didn't want his partner to suffer. The little beast was dazed and Ruby was about to finish him with an iron tail. I am happy that you are so caring. Naruto smiled as he had both Pokemon disappear and the crowd cheered. The energy was addictive. This isn't over yet, I will give you a chance to play, Naruto announced, and people saw Celebi appear. The tiny cute Pokemon nodded to Naruto and flew into the crowd before stopping near a little child. It was a boy of 13 and Celebi made him fly, taking him into the battlefield. The boy was over the moon and people went wild. The boy was mesmerized by the Celebi, but chose Infernape as his partner and Naruto used Houndoom. Clark watched with his team as Emperor let some lucky individuals get a chance at Pokemon battles. While part of him played with the people, Naruto extended his hand towards Kara. Do you want to try? Naruto asked as he appeared behind Kara. Unlike Clark, Kara backslapped him for doing something like that. She recognized by his voice even before turning around. She went with the attack to know what she was actually facing. Haha, I wasn't expecting that. So what did you find? Her hand passed through Naruto, because Naruto's clone body was made from chakra. Chakra was connected to the universe through the Sage Mode, so no matter how fast she moved, it wouldn't matter. The Sage Mode's connection to the world made it impossible for him to be taken by surprise, unless someone broke that connection or messed with it. Physically, Naruto would be unable to follow through, but the chakra could move once he connected it to the senses. In this way, Naruto was almost impossible to hit even in his real form. The real form would automatically teleport when he was in Sage Mode. Without it, he would get caught. It was only because of this skill that Naruto was moving around so confidently. He had the skill to escape and still act big. Kara looked at the armored figure. She had heard everything from the JL and even heard the conversation on the news. From the way he carried himself, he was kind, but he also felt like one of those people that used others. You aren't a physical being, so what do you want? Kara was usually kind these days, but there was days she had nightmares that ruined her mood. It was one of those days, so she was in a depressed mood. Naruto could feel it, and it seems the show hadn't made it better. I thought you looked lonely and sad, so I wish to lighten your soul and brighten your day. You are a good girl that deserves happiness, not sadness. You may have lost your loved ones, but you still have people that love you. Your loved ones would want you to be happy. Drowning in sorrow is bad for you and disrespectful to those people. Remember them with happiness, not sorrow. Keep your words to yourself, you can't understand as mere mortals. Kara felt her annoyance flare up as she was once again met by a preachy bastard. These people don't get tired of bullshitting when they haven't experienced a thing. Is that what you think? Unfortunately, that is false. I know very intimately the feelings of your heart. Remember, you are not the only that has gone through such an ordeal. People on this planet have experienced worse, and I have felt everything that they have felt. Do you want to try and see what is worse? Naruto stepped forward and came face to face with Kara. She stood at 1.7 millions while he was 2.2 millions. Kara looked at the darkness in his left hand and glared at him. Fine, but words don't make things better. The mind knows but the heart doesn't follow, or is that too much for you to understand? Do you have miracle cure for me, or are you here to waste time? I do have a miracle cure, but do you want it? You might feel it being too intrusive and take it the wrong way. Mind manipulation or emotional control? Nothing like that, it is just an aura that increases positivity, Naruto replied as he released his aura that was utilized when talking to people he wanted to help or influence. Supergirl was a delicate target. He could help her, but time was required and constant communication to develop a good relationship. She had a very weak connection to humanity and wouldn't really put her life on the line for them, except for the few or if she felt compelled. Kara was bombarded by the aura and she couldn't block it. The Kryptonian body could reduce physical damage drastically, but when it came to spiritual and magical things, it didn't really block them. Her body was directly hit, and Kara didn't have abilities to cancel or block it. Regardless, she didn't feel like stopping it. Kara felt relaxed and at peace. It was the first time since she woke up that she felt so relaxed. It had been 2 years, but the pain hadn't disappeared. It was always at the back of her mind even now. Looking at Kara closing her eyes and just feeling at rest, Naruto was pleased. He didn't go further like usual as that would cause multitudes of problems at the moment. Kara might be able to resist him, and someone might take it as an attack. You have done well, Supergirl. I am grateful for your service. This is a humble gift for you, and I hope it pleases you. Naruto presented earrings with emeralds, simple design, but they gave a peaceful feeling. Kara was feeling calm. Sorry about acting up and thank you for your help. I did what was necessary, nothing much. Take it, you need it. Pass it to someone else when you feel that it is unnecessary if you so desire. Let us meet again on good terms, Supergirl. The offer is also open to you. With that, Naruto disappeared, leaving the earrings in Kara's hand. Kara didn't know what to feel about the gift. She did need it. She also felt nice getting some acknowledgement for her actions, instead of hearing negative comments. I should get it checked first. Kara looked down to the stadium and saw that Emperor was letting someone else fight while watching things from the side. Taking flight, Kara headed for the Titan's tower to meet Raven. Kara arrived at the Titan tower within moments with her exceptional speed. The tower, shaped like a giant T, was on a small island given to the Titans by the mayor in return for their services. Titan's Island was located in the East River off the shore of Manhattan Island. They were the official guardians of the city and one of the strongest hero teams in the world. The tower was protected heavily with tech and magic. The tech was handled by Cyborg, original Teen Titan that had become part of JL before returning to his friends when JL made wrong moves on Raven. Magic side was handled by Raven, one of the strongest beings on the planet and one of the best magicians in the world. Unlike Gotham, the city was mostly peaceful and rarely had problems. It was the reason that the Titans operated outside the city most of the time. Kara liked the Titans and they had invited her to the group. Clark had also invited her to the JL, but she declined both to stay solo. She wished to stay out of this game and think without outside influence. Kara was still unsure of her path in life. The world wasn't just the Earth and Kara knew about it, so her options were vast. She had been thinking of leaving on a galactic trip to find her path, but the talk with Emperor made her reconsider that option. With thoughts about Emperor, Kara flew inside the tower as she was authorized to enter. Arriving inside the living room of the Titans, Kara found Starfire watching TV. Starfire was an alien, Tamaranian from the planet Tamaran. Her name was Coriandor in her language, which translated to Starfire. Cori was a beautiful young woman with orange skin tone and long red hair. She had green eyes and she was tall, 2 minutes. She wore a purple top with purple shorts. It was her favorite color and she showed a lot of skin because she liked skinship and it helped her powers. She absorbed light. She, the second princess of her people, but had been banished and sold into slavery, going through horrific experience of experimentation and torture of all kinds. Nonetheless, Cori was one of the most positive heroes in the world, and she was a very social person with a bubbly personality, though things hadn't been going well these days with her relationship with Nightwing. Before being involved with him, she had already gone through political marriages and even other relationships on Earth. She understood Earth culture, but it was hard to stay in control when emotions were involved for Cori, especially when they were not sexually compatible. Good morning, Kara. This is a pleasant surprise. Come, take a seat and let us catch up. Cori heard Kara fly into the room and turned around with a huge smile. She was a bubbly girl, but she was also a no-nonsense warrior that was never totally off guard. Flying off the sofa, Cori hugged Kara. Kara had gotten slightly used to people getting touchy with her, and it made her feel warm. Getting dragged to the sofa where Cori had been watching a fashion show, a show where she had performed as a model. Starfire was stunning, not just gorgeous but exceptionally so even among the sea of good-looking heroes. Sorry for the unexpected visit, but can I meet with Raven first? Cori was sensitive to emotions in a different way than Raven. It wasn't exact, but it was good enough and she could notice Kara's state. She had known Kara for 2 years now and even fought against her multiple times. The girl was lost and confused, stuck with grief and loneliness. Cori could sympathize with those emotions in a way, but had been unable to help the younger girl. Of course, let's go meet our friend and get her help. Cori didn't mind and smiled as she flew towards Raven's room. The dark girl was stuck inside her room most of the time. Go back, and I will meet you outside. Raven's voice rang inside their head and both girls found themselves back in the living room. Friend Raven is shy. Starfire chuckled as she went to the kitchen to get some snacks and drinks ready. It was early morning, but that didn't matter to any of them as everyone was an early riser and didn't need much sleep except the human members. Star, I will turn you into a butterfly next time you try to barge into my room, Raven muttered as she walked out of a dark portal. Raven was a charming woman with very pale graphite skin with short black hair and blue eyes. She was a halfling, human, and demon. Her superhero outfit was mostly made up of her favorite color, navy. She usually wore a hooded navy cloak, matching ruffled ankle boots with blackish-gray soles, and a long-sleeve leotard that is a dark navy color with cuffs at her wrists of the same navy color of her cloak. On her cloak she had a circular crimson jewel set in a gold plate that attaches the whole thing together. It covered her T-communicator, and it's fixed to beep glow when there was trouble. The jewel also sometimes had a raven head shape in the jewel. Around her waist, she had a red and gold belt with the same jewels around it, while her legs were exposed. The belt was tied at the back like a cord. She had a red gem that was outlined in black inlaid on her forehead that she always had. Raven is one of the most mysterious heroes. She was quiet, troubled, brooding, grim, moody, seemingly emotionless, intelligent, studious, and sarcastic. She could always come up with a smart remark, specifically in reply to most of the Teen Titans' antics and attempts at humor. She was the strongest person in the team, and no matter how distant she acted, Raven loved them more than anything else. When the world had abandoned her and the darkness seemed to be drowning her in its embrace, the Titans brought light to her world and became her family. She was connected to her father Trigon, a powerful demon that wished to take over the universe. Trigon could corrupt Raven through the connection and wanted to make use of her. It was the reason why she controlled her emotions. Dark emotions and wild emotions both allowed her father to corrupt her further and fed her demonic side. Regardless of such a heavy destiny, Raven fought for her existence and freedom with the help of her new family. The Justice League distrusted her because of Zatanna's talk about Raven being a demon and Batman's logical standpoint. They decided that banishing her or sealing her was the better option. I will keep that in mind. Strawberry or guava? Star smiled as she asked what flavor of milkshake she had liked to drink. Apple tea. Take a seat, Kara. Raven rolled her eyes and turned to Kara. She always had tea in the morning, so Corey was just having fun with her like usual. Kara took a seat opposite of Raven. Taking in the sight, it seemed that she was doing fine. Thank you for your time. I just had an interesting encounter and wanted to double-check. Kara extended her hand and showed the earrings. Raven looked at them and could feel the energy from them. She was an empath and the item resonated with her more than others. She could feel that the item was filled with positive emotions and desires for Kara. It truly embodied Naruto's feelings for selfless and good people. It was further enhanced by the feeling of nature. Unlike Kara, Raven wasn't overwhelmed by it. But she also liked it. Who gave it to you? Raven asked as she took it and examined it. It wasn't bad looking either, but seemed to have been a product of magic of some kind. The energy was mixed with nature energy. Gaia's presence, divine energy, would be the first option, but it didn't seem like it. It was a new type that she had never felt. Emperor of mankind, he gave it to me. Told me it will help me get through the pain. Do you know anything about him? We do, Nightwing told us. He looked very serious and broody. Here, your apple tea and chocolate cupcakes, coffee and pastries for our guest. Corey replied as she landed beside Kara and put things in front of them. He is too cautious, can't track him. His signature is mixed with Gaia, meaning he is everywhere. From the interview he didn't seem bad, but only time will tell. What about you? You met him directly? Not bad, he seemed like a kind person that truly cared. I felt his care and appreciation. Ooh, did you fall in love? Corey, zip it. Raven waved her finger and using magic caused Star's mouth to zip up. The item doesn't have any problems. It is totally safe and does what was told, though it could be used as a locator. That won't matter if he has connections to Gaia and is the will of humanity. Yes, it won't matter, so you can keep it. Kara looked at Raven and took one of the earrings. Keep the other one. I think you also need IIT. Raven smiled at the kind gesture but gave both of them. These were designed for you, and I think he will meet all of us at some point in time. I will talk to him about it personally. Just as the earrings left Raven's hand, a seal activated on Kara's body and Naruto's illusion showed up in the room. I look forward to our meeting, Raven. Do not give in. Do not fear. Do not lose hope. Everyone might give up on you, but I shall provide you protection. For now, accept this humble gift. With the words finished, emerald bracelets floated towards Raven. It seems he likes you more. And he forgot my gift. Corey was free of the curse and teased Raven as she held the gift. He has a way with his words. I can see why people might follow him. He touches the hearts of people and seems to understand what we desire. Raven muttered slowly as she put on the bracelets. She could tell that they had more power put into them for her sake. Seeing that he could use magic without her notice, Raven felt compelled to go back to her room and fix that issue. Gaia's presence was messing with her senses. I think he is real. I like his voice and his emotions were really nice. Corey commented, as she felt that Emperor wore his emotions outside and didn't lie like others. People of Earth were used to hiding their emotions all the time. Corey liked people that were honest and positive. She didn't dislike Raven because of her kind nature and knowing what the other girl was going through. I have no problem with him. That is something for others to decide. Kara put on the earrings after seeing Raven and gave her opinion. What about his invitation? Star questioned, as she didn't really have a problem with Emperor's method of doing things. Star didn't kill people because she was following the hero rules, or she would have massacred the lot of them according to her upbringing as a warrior princess. I might think about it, Kara replied after a short silence. The gift is nice, but we might get into a fight. JL will definitely get into a fight with him, so keep that in mind. Raven broke the positive line of thought and brought them to reality of the situation. Thanks for the reminder and for the help. I can understand JL, but why would you fight him? Kara asked as she understood that Nightwing was open to such methods. Corey was also curious and tried to think of the reason for the conflict. Emperor will torture people that we would not harm. Remember what he said, and you will understand that he considers people indulging in greed and corruption as criminals. His method most likely relies on fear, and not everyone in the group is on board with such cruel methods. Nightwing might agree, but not everyone is okay with his violent methods. Plus, he is too suspicious. I question his reason to delay our meeting. He is just too good at talking. Maybe he is purely manipulative. Raven replied as she picked up a cupcake and ate it while taking a sip from her tea. Corey bumped shoulders with Raven, and fortunately magic was there to save the tea. Don't be so negative, Raven. Manipulative doesn't mean bad. I didn't mean he was bad. I just wanted you to keep in mind that he might be playing with you. His actions could have multitude of reasons and outcomes. That also seems to be Nightwing's conclusion about him. He isn't a bad person, but his actions lead to his desired outcomes. I also thought about that, but it seems too negative. We are all doing things for a desired outcome. He already announced his desired outcome, so his actions fit into that line. Giving us these gifts to build a bond with us, and talking to us to further establish it. They had a purpose and they were genuine, or were they not? Kara spoke up as she didn't agree with that line of thought. It seems Raven had a bad experience with Batman and it was being projected on others. It was genuine, no lie in his words or emotions, but it doesn't mean that he might not use you for things you might not like. I didn't intend for you to hate him or anything. Just be careful with him and analyzes his words before acting on them. Kara nodded as she didn't want to continue arguing about it, and she kind of agreed. Okay, break it up. Let's stop the serious talks and go out together. It's been more than months since we saw each other. Corey preferred a positive environment instead of a depressed and serious one. She also wished to have some fun after the recent battles and events. Will you join us? Raven asked as she stood up. It was a rare moment, as rarely agreed to such requests. She was feeling a lot better, and agreed that it had been some time. She needed some fresh air after being cooped up inside. Moving back to the real Naruto, he toured the city with Conan while being accompanied by Roberta and Ralph Jones. George was a man with rich background and hands in the wrong places, so it wasn't rare for him to get attacked. It was the reason why he had a lot of security. It was first time for Naruto to sit in such an advanced vehicle, Rolls-Royce Phantom. In the ninja world, some things were still very much backward as these things were for the lower-ranked beings, normal human beings. The smartest and the ones in control were ninja, and they really didn't need cars or other vehicles. There were guns in the ninja world, but they were extremely inefficient, and looked like weapons from the 90s. Ninja were rich and powerful, but all of them minimalistic and had very low life expectancy. They were beings that endured and lived efficiently. Indulgence was poison to them, so they avoided things that could lead to harm in the future. It wasn't true every time, but it was the norm. Normal human beings were people with low potential, so they didn't learn the ninja way. Chakra was energy formed from the life force and spirit of the user. It wasn't something that just happened, and it had to be learned carefully as death was a possibility when mistakes were made. Chakra wasn't always in the system. The user had to make it manually, or have seals that could automatically create it. Knowing how to create it on the go was one of the basic skills taught in the academy. The best way to blind a ninja was to walk without creating chakra, as most ninja expect their foes to have it. That was for low-level ninja and amateurs. Skilled ninja utilized all their senses, and the best sensors could use their chakra like sonar. The best of the best could sense the life force in the soul. When the chakra was off, it was difficult to know the level of the person, but with the soul and life force it was pretty much impossible to hide anything except with the usage of anti-detection skills. Regardless, the normal and low-ranked ninja were slowly moving the tech level while trying to appeal to the higher-ups. After countless generations they had finally gotten a victory when the flying machines were made along with the train. It helped low-ranked ninjas conserve their energy, and especially because Konoha decided to invest into it. When Naruto was designated as the Emperor of the Future, all the important people had become part of the committee to come up with goals and a vision. After years of meetings, it was decided that things needed to change and their way of life was dangerous and unnecessarily difficult. Tsunade was brought back to start changing the medical system while the clan heads were used to change the education system. Chakra had always been the property of the strong. Knowledge about it wasn't shared to the public as it made things hard to control. But in the new era, it became a norm. Chakra was allowed for the public as the leaders accepted that innovation in all fields would accelerate if people had the power. People didn't need to become warriors or healers in the traditional sense, as chakra could do so much more. With that in mind, the world started to change for the good and the bad. Crime levels increased once knowledge was spread, and ninjas made tons of money from this opportunity. Konoha wasn't the only ninja village. There were many even in the Land of Fire. Those other forces took advantage of people's need just like always. Whenever the forces of good made a move, evil always followed. Akatsuki were not the only troublesome organization. There were many as there was no powerful central force, and the nations were in conflict. In the old days the wars were on the big battlefield, while in the new age there were small skirmishes everywhere. It could even happen in cities, leading to massive casualties. In a way, the ninja world might look like a nightmare to the people of Earth, but that would be a mistake. The ninja world was a nightmare, and it was about to end with Naruto's ascension. There was only one problem for Naruto in the ninja world, while Earth had multitudes of problems. Seeing the issues about demons and aliens, Naruto's mind had started questioning things that he hadn't considered. Do you think our world also has aliens or demons? I have seen the statue of the sage. He had horns. Maybe chakra was given to us by an alien species. What do you think? Naruto asked as he turned to Conan sitting on his right. I don't know. Does it really matter? Conan replied in a neutral tone, showing disinterest in the topic. How unfortunate, you act like such a dull person. Naruto shook his head as his hand extended and touched her face. You should always question things, or your mind will stagnate. As long as you are alive, it is our duty to learn and advance. A dull mind causes collapse, so do you want to be part of the ignorant majority, my hapless partner? Naruto brought her closer as his finger caressed her lips, and his blue eyes looked into the purple orbs of his partner. Truly, Naruto despised ignorance, and willing ignorance was the worst. Society collapsed when the majority became people lacking critical thinking skills and the scholars died off. Teaching was a profession for the elite, not the dregs of society. When it became something taken up by people of the lower circle, it only accelerates the destruction of the future. It was such a basic thing, but many had become blind to it. It was a big problem in the current world, and it was a problem in the ninja world. Clans taught their children personally, so they never cared for the academy. This led to people without backing getting low-level education. It created a weak majority, and killed curiosity, innovation, and talent. In Konoha, it was something that young Naruto had brought to the table. He wasn't part of the academy and was taught alongside clan heirs while also getting special training from high-ranked officials. It came to his mind when he was playing in the park with friends and met Sakura for the first time. Through her, he ended up meeting Tenten and Rock Lee. All three were exceptional, but the academy wasn't doing a good job with those talents, and it taught them the same thing as everyone else. The system didn't cater to people who were exceptional and ended up destroying the children's talents within those years most of the time. I am warrior. I have no interest in such things. But, you are not. Did you not act as a regent? Did you not fight for what is right? Your ignorance led to your actions and collapse, my dear friend. Will you not understand such basic logic? Apologies, it seems that you are still grieving. Your answer was a lie. Please, watch carefully and avoid drowning yourself into negativity. Naruto smiled and let her go while giving her a dose of his aura. Konan had lost everything and she had yet to fully gather herself. She felt like lashing out at Naruto for acting like he knew everything and disrespecting her family's sacrifice and loss. What do you really understand? You were born privileged. Unlike you, we didn't have a powerful force or intelligence on hand. We lived on the edge of life and death, surviving barely and having the minimum to eat. We may have been wrong, but it was the world that twisted our lives. Don't forget that all of it was Konoha's fault. You destroyed our lives. Next time, don't you dare bring up our ignorance. The mask of Emotionless broke down as Konan took him by the collar and attacked him verbally. Her words were filled with pain and tears streaked down her face. Naruto didn't laugh or slap her for her actions. He forced her into his lap and hugged her so that she wouldn't become physical. It would be easy to just stop there and just apologize, but that was wrong. It meant that he was allowing others to continue their delusions. Unfortunately, you are incorrect. The big nations fighting did destroy your way of life and caused you despair. That is true. But once you became powerful, that stopped being the reason. Your victimhood stopped when you became a powerful force, Konan. You all went through terrible things, but in return you caused cruel incidents for people in a similar position. You let your hatred guide you into the wrong choices. This is what I meant by ignorance. Your group was blind to the ways of governance and reality, and that was your choice. You could have learnt these things instead of fighting all the time. You were strong enough to help the regions around you, and none of the nations would have interfered. Our world is enormous, but the 5 nations were only focused in one region. You could have easily extended your hand somewhere else and build your forces to bring salvation, but you didn't. You were blinded by hate and your misery. Your mind was blocked, your eyes closed, and your ears deaf to the suffering you caused. You have no justification for your actions, Konan. You were wrong, and that is a fact. People have gone through similar experiences and they became heroes. You could have been one of those. Just like you are here to remind me of my failings, I will not let you forget your faults. Never justify your ill-advised actions with your suffering. That's a slippery path leading to damnation. I know it is hard, but focus on what you are doing now. You are fixing the wrongs of the past and walking the path you wanted. You are still alive and can fix the legacy of your group. Do you really want to go down in history as the villains? Do you want to be remembered to only be cursed by future generations? Tell me, Konan, Naruto whispered into her ears, his voice demanding and commanding. She tried to resist his strength, but it was a futile effort. His grip was too strong. All she could do was listen to him prattle, his words destroying her barriers and causing her pain. She tried to block him out and scream, but the voice wouldn't come out. Naruto's chakra was like a parasite that blocked everything undesirable. She couldn't deny his words that wormed into her mind and soul. His voice made her contemplate and judge her past. We just wanted to live in peace. Konan broke down and answered with difficulty. Naruto turned her around and hugged her, giving her some support. She ended up punching him in the face and moving to her seat. She cried silently, but her look was easy to understand. You sick fuck. It wasn't the first time Naruto had seen that look. People loved him, and there were people that hated him or feared him. Truth wasn't always sweet, it was painful and sour. Forcing people to hear the truth and acknowledge it made them think that he was obsessed with being right. Well, Naruto couldn't deny it. He disliked being wrong. To make matters worse for Konan, she was a criminal, so Naruto had zero sympathy for her. It was the reason why he was so harsh. Naruto chuckled as he cleared his face of her tears and looked outside. You are finally starting your new life, Konan. Cry out your heart. I hope you die in a ditch. I know that's false. Konan screamed into her hands and resisted the urge to blow him to Kingdom Come. Naruto allowed her the dignity to avoid his maniacal laughter on account of her being connected to him. He was a sadist, and loved to inflict pain on people that broke his rules. It was a defense mechanism to make sure that he will not stop inflicting torture upon the sinners. Leaving Konan to collect herself, Naruto visited schools in the poor regions of Gotham. There were many issues in society, and one of them was education, and within education there were other issues. In the US, the quality of schools depended on the area they were located in. The rich neighborhood got the good schools with quality education and higher budget, while the poor neighborhood got the low-quality schools with small budget. It seemed that the system wanted to keep the status quo, and deliberately worked against people on the lower scale. Giving people lower resources ensured that majority of them would never move up from their current level. The schools in poor regions, meaning with people that paid less tax, had lower budget allocation. This meant that they didn't have the proper facilities and resources. Having such a system also caused irresponsible teachers to appear. This kind of problem was majority of the countries, but the rich countries didn't have an excuse for such a problem. Developing nations or underdeveloped nations didn't have the financial power to support such a system, but nations like the US could easily do so. Children were the future of the nation. When a nation wanted to continue its growth, it invested in education for the future generations and facilitated them on all levels. But it had become a money-making machine in the current world. The education system charged horrendous amounts and didn't even ensure that the student will get a job or that they are catered for properly. Having a degree meant nothing, as it could end up being just a piece of paper unless the student personally worked hard for it. The teachers in most of these institutions just did their job of giving lectures and nothing more. When students tell them that they all understood, anyone with basic logic would know that is complete bollocks. Teachers were students once, and they know the tricks. Many students are childish until reality hits them hard in the face. They play around in school and college without learning much. The problem is the result of three people: the education system, the parents, and the students. Parents consider the education system the caretaker that will equip their children with everything needed, which is totally wrong and a destructive mindset. The students were not at the school the whole day, as such part of the learning process is the responsibility of the parents. The school system should be aware of such a thing and include the parents and the society into its steps. For a proper education, it needs to stop strangling curiosity and innovation in the cradle with proper steps. Students were shaped through those experiences, and if they don't question anything throughout their academic life, then it was difficult for them to ever change in their adulthood. Habits were not easy to break, and most of them will end up as servants to the system. Innovators were not a result of any education system. Those children used the system's resources and found their path, or some proper teacher came into their life. The system should encourage curiosity and creativity from early ages. With just such a step, the world would transform. It was easy to say such things, but Naruto understood the difficulty of application. The cost would increase, and the workforce required for such a thing would need expert training and screening. Teaching was a noble job, and the world needs to start giving it the proper due. In the old days, teachers were considered something grand, unlike the current times. In some nations, teaching was the job of those people that couldn't do anything else with their degrees. Teaching had fallen to such low levels, such disrespect. It was much easier to just go with the flow, and as such the world barely moved from the starting point when it came to education. The system understood, but it didn't care, as it invested when it needed pawns, and the rest were of no concern. It wasn't just the government-owned institutions, as it was also the private ones. The private ones charged huge amounts, but the services given didn't reflect the cost. They knew and they could improve, but they had no reason to. If the parents and society allowed them to continue profiting with minimal effort, then why should they say otherwise to such an easy world? Naruto understood such things, as this was something basic to his studies on empire building. At the moment he couldn't fix that problem, but he was going to start his other plan. He was going to become part of politics, and for that he was going to do good deeds using his identity as George. Naruto visited the schools, talked to the teachers and students. He even took some classes where he talked about life with children in the senior classes. Once he was done with that, Naruto gave donations to the schools after having meetings with the principals. He made sure to fix up the teachers and the management before leaving. While his real body was moving around the city visiting schools, Naruto's clone finished with the Pokemon game and disappeared. Another clone activated and visited one of the big pharma corporations. These companies were giant parasites in the US, along with other giant corporations. Business was good, profit was good. Capitalism was a good system. Sadly, anything that a human touches turns to dust. Ideas were good on paper, but the human factor changes the outcome all the time. The greed of people was limitless, and sadly only the greedy rise to the highest levels. In an ideal system, companies would compete, and things would be decided by supply and demand. But that was a dream. Reality didn't work that way. People at the top team up and eliminate everyone else and control the market. When it came to pharma, it was the sad reality. The companies held on to patents and slightly adjusted them when the time came for expiration. They barely innovated but released propaganda that without money, innovation was impossible. People seemed to feed into the lies when many things came into being because of a need. The people that brought insulin to life sold the rights for nothing. But these companies sold it for an enormous amount when the cost was minimal. In their eyes, money was more important than lives, and as such people died in droves and many more were put into debts because of medical costs. These companies had done more to stifle innovation than create it. They charged large prices for their products, citing research costs when government ends up funding the research. The cost of making the medicine doesn't change, and most of the time was minimal compared to its final cost. The prices given to the customers were a result of corporate greed as the salaries and bonuses of the management continue increasing, leading to higher prices. The medicine didn't change, but the prices kept on increasing. It was easy to see the reason by following the trail. It was quite unfortunate, but everything happened for monetary gains. It could happen in short terms or be a long-term plan. Pharma companies sometimes even went further by helping in the production of diseases or mutations to sell more medicines. These companies used advertisements and tricked people into buying medicine even when they didn't need them. The government knew about such practices, but they didn't care since they were all good friends. It was legal for businesses to fund politicians, and the end result would only be a surprise to the mentally challenged people. Nobody gave millions for no reason, as they would always get something in return. In the ninja world, this was also true on some level, but the ultimate control was in the hands of the shinobi. Focusing on these was necessary as businesses hired people and covered everything required for existence. Naruto didn't make a scene and met up with the CEO, tortured him for his crimes before fixing him up. Got the list of people on the board of directors and met up with them to show them the way. It was the first time Naruto had taken, and without being in complete control, just like the rest, Naruto was also watching the results, though he was extremely confident in every step. With that, one of the largest pharma in the world was given morals and became humane. It led to lower prices and more research as Naruto fixed their heads. Act like a bitch, and you will die like a bitch. Naruto didn't stop there and fix the rest, even though he did want to see a fight with large corporations. It was a waste of resources and time, so he got them on track to fix up problems instead of swimming in untold amount of dirty cash. Profit was good, but when it led to human suffering, then it was wrong and questions should be raised. The thing about administration's costs rising leading to higher product cost was also a problem in hospitals. Health should be a human right. Living in a society, one shouldn't worry about dying on the road and getting no help because he couldn't pay for the medicine. Such a society was accursed and heartless, and it went against the reason why humanity gathered together. There were things that a human being needed to live, and a proper system should cover those needs in an efficient manner. Beyond that were wants, and those were up to the people. But, it seems corporations were intent on redefining what was a human right, and it wouldn't be strange to hear air becoming a product since some corporations don't consider clean drinking water a human right. Nonetheless, Naruto wasn't going to force them to treat patients for free since the costs had to be covered in a way. The government wasn't going to cover them for now. Most of it was already inefficient and pointless to Naruto, but he had to play along for the moment. Once things were settled, majority of the minor diseases would disappear from the world. For now, Naruto just needed the hospitals to lower their prices to an appropriate level. It was an easy process after having a nice talk with the management. The people listened to his kind words and quickly got to work to make the world a better place. The pharma, other medical equipment suppliers and the hospitals were covered, leading to a large change. With Naruto's words, none of them dared to hesitate or delay anything. Everything was done post-haste. Once that was done, Naruto's clone exploded and released an energy wave that covered the whole city within a second. It cleared the pollution and brightened up the hearts of the people, healing them from all kinds of physical and mental illnesses. Naruto was unfortunately not an expert at healing physical diseases, but his energy gave the people stronger immunity to fight the problem. While Naruto was dealing with his things, Moon Maiden's nemesis was in full gear. The Centurion was a large man with a buff body and an intelligent mind. He had been fighting to take over the world for centuries, but all plans had failed. Even the device given to him by Darkseid was gone. It seems the device had limitation on what it could erase, so strong beings on his level could come back eventually. Getting back, he was extremely angry, and wished to indulge in extreme violence, but the logical side of the brain stopped him in time and he held it back. Using his powers to control souls and make them his slaves, Centurion gathered data and understood the changes. Things had become worse for him, and he contemplated for a time on ways to succeed. For the first time in his existence, Centurion decided to work with others. He made contact with the light and they gave him an assignment to complete before he could join. It angered him, but he endured, and went about gathering up souls to serve him. This time he decided to gather powerful souls, instead of wasting energy on combining souls to make a powerful abomination. Many powerful beings had died on the planet, he just needed to find their corpses to summon the soul into submission. With that plan in mind, he found the Green Lantern Abensour, Giovanni Zatara, Ace Masterson, Angelica Smith and Angon. Along with these, he even managed to locate powerful dark spirits hiding in the human world. Kayako, also known as the Grudge, had escaped from Japan after a battle and was hiding in one of the ghost towns. Sadako, the ghost that gave 7 days after watching a video, was also located and subdued once he got information about her from the light. There were 2 other powerful ghosts, Alessa in Silent Hill and Enma in Japan. He was given data to grow his powers as he needed all he could get. His task was to kill Batman and Aquaman. With Batman dead, the JL would lose its strategist, while Aquaman's death would lead to a chance that Atlantis might fight the surface world. Ignoring the ghost living in Japan, Centurion flew towards Silent Hill with his army of souls. Just you wait, Moon Maiden, as your life will be a living hell. That is a promise that I intend to keep with all seriousness. Silent Hill was in West Virginia, not too far for Centurion. Using his powers, he could become invisible and avoided any kind of detection. After getting into a fight with the JL last time, he had become very cautious. Another reason for his cautious behavior was the emergence of the Emperor. He had never heard of such a being in his life and didn't believe a word that was uttered by the creature. Nonetheless, he was careful since the man was handling the JL lightly. Playing around with Superman wasn't child's play. Landing inside the ghost town, Centurion found the place abandoned with no life in it. But he already knew about that and he could feel the spiritual wave. The giant man wearing red and gold armor started walking casually on the streets. He wanted to see if the spirit would appear. Come out, Alessa, or I might have to destroy this place. Valkus muttered in a commanding tone as his feet left imprints on the road. He wasn't there to recruit, as he was there to make her submit. It didn't take long for the world to be enshrouded in fog as ashes rained down, and a little girl with long black hair and pale skin stood in front of him. Alessa, also known as Dark Alessa, stood in front of Valkus wearing a purple dress. She was the dark part of Alessa formed from her suffering. Good. Now come along, little lady, before I get violent. Valkus smiled as he stepped forward to catch her tiny little form while releasing his spiritual aura to suppress her form. Alessa looked at him with a dull expression. She could feel his spiritual power and the ghosts around him. It wasn't the first time someone had tried to make her submit. She was waiting for her good part to return, and these things were an annoyance. Stepping back, the world started to shift again. Reality seems to peel away, releasing a nightmare realm. Silent Hill was the town that had become Alessa's territory, and it was a place with 3 realms: the normal world, the fog world, and the nightmare realm. Valkus increased his pace to catch the little brat while fully unleashing his presence, but she disappeared, and he was forced to dodge a slash from a giant cleaver. Standing on his side was a man of similar size wearing a giant triangular metal mask. It was Pyramid Head, one of Alessa's guards. He represented the faceless guardian that protected Alessa from harm. And he wasn't alone. There were 2 figures that took shape from Valkus, representing his fears and trauma. One was similar size to Pyramid Head, and he had a large buff body and wore a cloth bag on his head while spikes covered his head. He wore simple white clothes, and over them he wore dark leather armor. In his hand was an oversized battle axe that also served as a hammer, and there was a chain connected to the hammer section. It represented his fear of being executed for treason. It was a figure that had haunted him from a young age, as he had watched people get beheaded. The other one was huge, and with size it also represented his biggest fear: the Yellow Emperor. It was a huge figure that stood 2 stories tall and had tentacles instead of legs. Its face was covered by a white mask, and its eyes were a deep pool of darkness. It was a dark-skinned figure wearing a yellow robe and a golden medallion along with a floating golden crown. Its hands were large and pointy, while more tentacles came out of the arm section of the robe, and even its abdomen. The figure represented his fear of being ruled by another, a higher force that makes him feel powerless. It represented his deepest fears of futility and weakness. The tentacles were the limbs that extended forth to control its subjects. Valkus thought he had never experienced fear, but at the moment he could feel his heart beating fast. Alessa had awakened his fear, and the presence of the 2 creatures caused him to remember the horrible past. Fucking whore, Valkus roared as his ghost army was summoned. Everyone that had died serving him was summoned along with his new slaves. Thousands of soldiers on horses rushed at the nightmares while he scanned the area. Find the maggot now! Valkus turned to Sadako along with Kayako and growled his order while quickly dodging the Yellow Emperor. Sadako had space manipulation skills while Kayako went further as she could mark people and follow them. The 2 ghost women were forced by the collar on their necks to follow the command. Sadako connected to all the televisions in the town and found a target. Emerging from the TV, she was forced back in by Dark Alessa and confined into the digital realm. Kayako was also about to start working, but Valkus put a stop to it. Stop, just help me with this abomination, Valkus commanded as he lost connection with Sadako. Angon was a giant monster that stood 5 meters tall. It could shift its red blood-like body any way it wanted and could poison people. It fought against Pyramid Head while Angelica and Ace fought against the Executioner. Angelica was part of the Terror Titans gathered by the Clock King to fight against the Teen Titans. She was killed by the man. She was a woman that hated other women. Regardless, she was a powerful being with the power to disrupt gravity and negate kinetic energy. Following that, she also had energy projection. While Ace Masterson was an old man called the Human Dynamo. He wasn't a villain but a man that wished to be a crime fighter, so he ended up experimenting on his body. He was transformed into a living battery capable of absorbing and manipulating electromagnetic radiation. He got his dream but realized that he had dementia and could become a threat, so he hired Deathstroke to assassinate him, giving him a warrior's death. The 2 were stuck fighting one his nightmares while the rest fought against his biggest fear. Abin Sur was an alien being that protected the Earth region as a Green Lantern before Hal Jordan became the Green Lantern when he died. Zatara was Zatanna's father who had died in the line of duty fighting against the darkness. He had said his farewells to his daughter, but his death was also the reason for Zatanna and John Constantine's breakup. John was the only one to survive the battle, and some other people handled the problem with the darkness. Regardless, Zatara was an exceptional magician, but now he was stuck into servitude. Everyone was focused on the giant monster and avoiding its tentacles. The Yellow Emperor could dominate the mind by coiling its targets, and its body was hard to harm. To make things worse, it could heal instantly. Valkis couldn't calm his heart around the monster and flew around the battlefield avoiding its touch. He could feel it smiling at him, looking down on him. "Vanish!" Valkis screamed as he unleashed a beam of light. Just like Moon Maiden, Valkis also got powers from the same source. Valkis could get power from the sun, though it wasn't like Superman. He could just manipulate light for attacks, not grow stronger from it. He extended its hand and a dark barrier appeared, blocking his attack. At the same time the others attacked. Sur used his lantern powers, though they had been weakened without the real ring. Creating a beam cannon, he blasted the target. Zatara spoke his spells and unleashed fireballs while also creating ethereal chains to catch their target. Finally, Kayako used her space manipulation to appear inside the robe of the Ye. She tried to take him into her dark realm, but all of it was futile. Yi was his biggest fear, and it was feeding on his terror along with Alessa's powers. She was happy with Yi, and decided to keep him. Yi smiled as he blocked Sur's attack with the other hand. His tentacles destroyed all of Zatara's attacks and pierced through him. His head turned around and stared into Kayako's eyes. Kayako was a human woman that had been killed by her husband. The current form was the grudge left behind in the moment of her death, along with all the dark spirits her human form had consumed before death, and the continuous consumptions of souls after that. Any other person staring into her eyes would experience a heart attack before getting their soul devoured. He smiled before more tentacles appeared from its mouth that coiled around Kayako, trying to drag her inside. It became a fight of who could eat first. "Converge, my loyal slaves, let us become one," Valkis announced as he saw that they weren't making a dent on the thing. He needed to calm down, so he had all the loyal soldiers gather inside of him. With those spirits, he felt calm and could think clearly. He was covered up in ethereal armor and carried a long lance along with a shield, riding an ethereal horse. Gathering all of them, he saved Kayako from getting devoured, while also getting all their abilities in one body. He left the others to engage the minor distractions and fought against Yi. With a command, ethereal chains appeared from the ground and the air to trap his foe. "Finish him," Alessa commanded, and Yi raised his hand to the sky. In his hand appeared a sword. Valkis didn't stop his attack, and threw his lance after focusing his powers on it. It was an attack that should destroy all his obstacles, but it disappeared with the slash from Ye. Valkis quickly retreated to avoid the attack, but chains coiled around his legs. Looking back, he realized that Pyramid Head was the only one on the battlefield at the back. He had devoured the executioner along with his slaves, taking on their qualities. The enemy dragged him down and slashed down with his giant blade. Valkis blocked the attack with his shield. The impact caused him to get smashed into the street, causing a crater to form. The short fight had destroyed the whole area, but it mattered to none. Seeing the two nightmares walk towards him, Valkis roared in frustration, and pushed through the nightmare realm to escape Silent Hill. Dark Alessa wanted to take him out, but Alessa was tired and needed to rest. He was lucky and escaped to the real world. Looking down on the accursed town, Valkis shivered before escaping. He hated Alessa and he hated the light for their betrayal. They had not told him everything, and he was not told to expect such level of power. "You worms will pay for this sacrilege." Valkis took an oath as he retreated to heal up from the battle. He had lost much and almost got corrupted by Alessa. Just as Valkis concluded, the light hadn't planned to take him in. They were just using him to test AI Enma and Alessa. Their target had been these two ladies. Valkis was an old villain, and the light had no desire to keep such traitorous scum within their group. Valkis had killed his emperor when he got his powers and backstabbed everyone that had worked with him. His loyalty was in the negative. He was a poisonous snake that couldn't be trusted. None of the members were blind to his desire of dominating the group. He was strong, but the two ladies were stronger. The light wanted to check their powers and see what they could do to convince them. Alessa seemed to hate humanity as a whole, and that needed to be fixed or she would need to die. The light worked towards making humanity becoming a dominant force in the universe, though their means were immoral and they didn't really care for the citizens. Getting back to Silent Hill, Naruto walked into the town. One of his clones had sensed an invisible figure moving and followed. Naruto followed and saw that it was Centurion, so he decided to focus on him. The man was powerful and would be troublesome for him. Naruto decided to inform the JL about the foe and let them handle him. It was unfortunate for Valkis, but his battle didn't end with leaving Silent Hill. It just started another round, as he was faced with Moon Maiden, Hawk Girl, and Martian Manhunter. Naruto walked around but was unable to enter to the Fog Realm or the Nightmare Realm. His power over space wasn't good enough to open portals to other realms, and Alessa didn't want him to enter. Naruto had no fears, so the Nightmare Realm would have a low impact on him, and she didn't want to fight pointless battles. "I know you are there, and I will come back for you. Don't lose hope and never walk the wrong path." The world is filled with the good and bad. Don't drown in the darkness for the select few that's surrounding your innocent existence, Alessa, Naruto muttered as he disappeared. He got the name and data from Gaia. She seemed to help him lightly at different points, and he had yet to know her goal. She wanted him to kill the Olympians, cleanse the planet, or just watch him perform. He didn't know for sure, but he didn't mind using her for his benefit, and one day she would submit like the rest. Naruto left Silent Hill and started one of his other plans. He wanted to have another public appearance that was totally different from his real form. It would be something that was acceptable by the current JL, as he wished to interact with these people in a positive manner. His real persona would also continue to exist along with these new personas that came into existence from the Marvel Comics. It wasn't something new for Naruto, since his teachers had made him make clones that took other appearances, and even acted in that manner completely. It helped him learn different fighting styles and personalities, so he decided to continue such a thing in the current world. Naruto changed his armor to gold, and revealed his true looks inside while taking the name Gilgamesh. Alongside there were 4 more clones, but with the Marvel character's appearance. All the clones were using true transformation, so none of them could be traced to his real body, even if the main clone had his real appearance. Flying beside him were Thor, Hulk, Human Torch, and Magneto. Thor had the power of lightning and wind. Human Torch had fire, Hulk had super strength, and Magneto focused on magnetic style. Naruto knew countless techniques, so it wasn't rare for him to use most of his techniques. Getting back to the scene, Naruto flew with his team towards the location where he could sense Valkis. The plan was thought out, but only implementation would tell whether it was working or not. While Naruto had left the Centurion, he had become engaged in combat with the JL. Centurion had combined all his remaining power inside his body to escape Silent Hill, and lost some of his servants. He was weakened in a way, and used half of his energy to escape, so he was not in good shape. Regardless, he had no choice but to fight because Martian Manhunter, Eminem, had attacked his mind and almost dropped him from the sky. However, Centurion could operate his body in a different manner, and avoided such a future. His mental barriers were strong, but Eminem was better, so his spiritual abilities saved him. He operated using his soul while the body became a puppet, allowing him to avoid Eminem's mind powers. Centurion avoided that attack but got hit by Hawkgirl's mace along with Moon Maiden's lunar blade. It was a direct hit to his chest, and the impact sent him crashing into the greenery below. Both weapons were exceptional, especially Hawkgirl's mace. It was made from nth metal, which was one of the strongest metals in the universe and had multitudes of abilities. It allowed physical interaction with, as well as disrupt the presence of ghostly entities, magic creatures, and even break enchantments. It negated gravity. It allowed self-sustenance. It could change shape into anything, and it enhanced the power of the user. It even had the power to manipulate reality and time, and allowed the user to reincarnate. It was the ideal material for a weapon or armor. With such a weapon, Centurion had his defenses negated and got damaged. The impact with the ground didn't do a thing except cause a crater and damage the surroundings. It was once again apparent that superhuman fights were dangerous for the planet, and the government had some valid fears. It also showed the heroes and government's lack of planning for such fights. It was just a matter of time that the planet faced destruction because of collateral damage. Getting back to the fight, Centurion howled and released a ghastly scream that pushed back his foes while impacting their souls. Moon Maiden acted fast and put up a lunar barrier that blocked the move, but it got through and Hawkgirl smashed it with her mace. The attack would have worked if not for the mace. Nonetheless, it was just a simple move, and Centurion continued with another move. Utilizing the space manipulation from Kayako, Centurion unleashed beams from his hands to the sides, and the beams hit his foes instantly. The attacks appeared too close to their bodies for them to dodge, and they appeared from their back. The beam contained concentrated spiritual energy that heavily affected Eminem, while Moon Maiden and Hawkgirl only had to endure the forceful impact that sent them flying into the distance. Moon Maiden had been able to shine with moonlight before the impact and reduce the affect, or she would have been taken out. Regardless, she was heavily damaged and focused on healing and giving support with her gravity manipulation. Hawkgirl was more durable and quickly flew towards Centurion again while her body healed from the damage. Eminem was angered, which was rare since he was a gentle soul. But it happened because the impact caused him to remember his darkest thoughts. It brought back nightmares. Eminem had been taking the fight lightly, but now he got serious. However, Centurion was about to escape using Kayako's abilities when things went haywire again. Naruto arrived with his team and created a golden barrier around the battlefield. It also blocked Kayako's spatial ability for a moment that Thor was able to strike him with his lightning blast. Naruto was using his full power with Sage Mode, so the lightning moved 10 times faster than the normal lightning, and struck with such power that Centurion would have drilled into the core. However, Naruto caused the ground to become strong, and there was barely any damage to it. This caused the damage done to Centurion to increase when his body was hit by Hulk's hammer smash that followed. Hulk was the persona that was utilizing Tsunade's fighting style along with Might Guy's and Choji's. The strength of all three was combined in Hulk. The butterfly mode combined with Tsunade's power style was the main thing, while the 8 gates were work in progress. Naruto was trying to combine all his power-up abilities, but the 8 gates caused the other techniques to be negated, as he was unable to control the wild chakra rush. Regardless of the 8 gates, Hulk's power was enormous and was good enough to smash a mountain to pieces. That power was clearly felt by Centurion as his injured body was further damaged. His appearance was disheveled, his bones were fractured, and he was bleeding. Looking around, he knew he was defeated. There were too many enemies and he was not at full power. But it seems his luck wasn't all that bad, as all his foes were shot by someone and he was pulled out of the battlefield. Just 5 kilometers away from the battlefield, Deathstroke stood with his new look. He was wearing an advanced combat suit and held a large rifle that shot lasers, while 6 other laser shooters floated around him. He had appeared silently and shot the heroes from afar with his new equipment made by the light. The weapon shot faster than the speed of light, utilizing space technology, and the power was beyond the reaches of a nuclear bomb. The weapon's power was still in development stage, or the heroes would have been past news. With his task done, Deathstroke disappeared from the area as his suit was equipped with teleportation functions. Even with Naruto's involvement, the battle had gone completely differently, and it was fortunate that he hadn't appeared with his Emperor persona, or the failure would have weakened his image considerably. Getting back to the heroes, the sudden attack had been too fast for all of them except Minim. Eminem could have phased through the laser but instead blocked it with his hand without getting damaged. Moon Maiden and Hawkgirl were slightly hurt by the attack because of their equipment's special abilities, while Naruto's clones were durable enough to walk through the attack. Naruto had sensed the attack and his body could have teleported instantly because of his connection with nature through Sage Mode, but he had turned off that function for these clones. Because of that, the clones were unable to react and were hit squarely in the back. Regardless, the clones were durable enough to handle the power of a city destroyer or a mountain eraser, and were only pushed aside by the sudden impact. Naruto's other clone had watched the battle from afar, and took note of Deathstroke so that he wouldn't have to experience the same failure again. It wasn't his first failure, but repetition was not allowed. He had made the blunder of looking down on a low-level power signal, forgetting that highly advanced weaponry allowed them to harm him. Nonetheless, it didn't damage his pride, as it had already been shaken by the knowledge from the people, and he had adjusted. The fact that he wasn't even top 10 on the planet was a big blow to his pride, and it was fortunate that he knew how to manage his ego and wasn't driven by it. Naruto was once again impressed by the new world and the technology. He was looking forward to his team's progress in the field. With everyone done catching their breath, all of them came to an understanding that the enemy had disappeared, and they focused on each other. Naruto's team had helped them, but all of them were unknown. Eminem took the lead and let the girls heal from their injuries. He looked at the 4 individuals and recorded the data with the lenses in his eyes. It was done by Batman to make it easy for them to collect data on every enemy they fought, as verbal accounts and memory were not very reliable, especially when one wasn't good at description. "Thank you for your assistance." Eminem approached them and talked in a calm manner as usual. His tone was mostly neutral, but the inside was extremely warm. "Gilgamesh, my name is Gilgamesh. No need for thanks, it is our duty to help each other out." Gilgamesh was the clone with original appearance and golden armor. His tone also matched Naruto's original tone without the additional effects in the sound. "As he, my friend, said, we were happy to be finally of use," Thor added in a jovial tone that was like Lee and current Naruto's fusion. While Magneto was silent and cautious like Satsuki, Hulk was just a battle-driven junkie showing disinterest in talking, and Human Torch was acting like a chill modern guy. From their appearance, all of them looked friendly, but Eminem knew to never go on such a thing. "What do you mean by that?" Eminem asked, and he very much wanted to read the people freely. He controlled himself because people felt violated, but the continuous problems over the years had been pushing his buttons. And he had started reading people's surface thoughts. He didn't go deep unless needed. With his preliminary search, he didn't find negative indication. "We have been training with our powers for a while and wanted to help out soon," Gilgamesh replied honestly and clearly. It was the truth according to the script Naruto had written. The clones only had fake memories, and they were connected to real people working in one of the places Naruto had visited. He had taken control of 5 individuals and shaped their memories to match the clones to cover everything properly, or it would allow others to find out the game. Naruto controlled all 5 clones remotely with his parallel mind skill to avoid the problem of detection. "Yeah, we have been training in remote places like Z Warriors. It was horrendous. Please save us from this lunatic." Human Torch put his arms around Thor and acted dramatically. Eminem finally got the picture. The team was made of meta-humans that had awakened some ability. "Thank you for answering my query, and I hope to see you all become the guardians of this beautiful world. I wish we could have a longer conversation, but for now we have some prior arrangements." Eminem reminded them to keep on the right path, as he couldn't just take them and read them like a book or register them with the JL. There was no proper system to take care of superhumans, and letting the government know about them was asking for trouble, since it wouldn't be beneath them to capture an experiment. The government's suspicious nature had made sure that all superhumans would avoid it like the plague, and wouldn't work for it unless there were special circumstances. "No problem, we will definitely be seeing each other." Gilgamesh shook hands with Mem. "Can I have your number?" Human Torch, on the other hand, approached Hawkgirl for her number. Hawkgirl looked him up and shook her head. "Not my type, you look too soft, I don't like playboys." Hawkgirl responded to his flirting and brushed him off. It was a new experience in the field, but that didn't change her opinion. With that, the JL team vanished from the field through the usage of the Watchtower's spatial functions. Naruto's team also departed from the area, but in a normal manner as he believed that the tower might have zoomed onto them. While the heroes dispersed, Centurion appeared in a place far from the battlefield. He appeared on an uninhabited island and was greeted by Deathstroke. The island was barren and looked haunted with a dark atmosphere. It was covered in fog and there were bloodstains in places. Both warriors didn't care about the aesthetics and focused on each other. Centurion glared at the man that had saved him. He wasn't grateful and only held suspicion. "Stop glaring or I will pop those eyeballs. Valkus, you have failed to show us your importance. We gave you information to help you grow in power, but you were defeated so easily without a single accomplishment. Those powers are wasted on you." Deathstroke talked down on him and went for the harshest tone. They had saved Centurion to test his capabilities to the maximum before taking them out. The Light had managed to find a way to transfer powers from one individual to another, and even further enhance those innate powers with genetic modification. They intended to create the ultimate form of humanity and enhance the chosen ones, because the current humanity could never compare to the top species in the universe. It was their weak physiology that limited their future, and the Light was intent on erasing that defect. "How dare you, you filthy mongrel! I will lost because of your incomplete information." Centurion was lit with rage and jumped towards Deathstroke, but only found a barrier stopping his approach. "Incomplete information, did I just heart that? Valkus, you are truly incompetent beyond belief. How did you ever manage to delude yourself in believing that you were capable of ruling over people? Your level of incompetence is truly astonishing. Did you not even think for a moment and test the unknown entity instead of barging in like a buffoon? You failed the test at the moment, but we have decided to give you another chance." Deathstroke stroked his rage to the point of insanity, touching his pride. He pushed Centurion into the ground with the gravity device and placed his sword to his face. "One last chance, Valkus. We will not save you again. You see this island? It is filled with millions of souls blinded with rage. Take them and dispose of at least one member of the Justice League." Deathstroke gave Centurion a cut on his face and left him alone. Centurion roared in rage at the humiliation and smashed the ground with his fist, causing the small island to shake and almost collapse. "All of you will pay for this degradation." Centurion stood up as he muttered those words in a guttural tone before focusing on the souls. He was going to make the best use of the resources. "Found you?" An ominous voice entered his ears while a large hand captured his head. The large hand's owner was Naruto, and he had found Centurion very easily because the man's life signal had been registered, and there was a Hiratian seal on his body. Naruto's clone had made sure to mark Centurion in the case that the criminal escaped his grasp. Looking at the situation, Centurion was ripe for the picking. Naruto's clone contained 50% of his chakra, and he was using Sage Mode at full capacity. With the new knowledge taken from the people, he had managed to find a path to power where his current foe was a child in front of him. He had found a way that boosted his powers immensely to the point that Naruto was ready to go back and slap Madara around like a child. Though that was the ideal situation, and Naruto expected a genius like Madara to have already come to the same discovery. Naruto had come to realize that he had been blind to something very close. He had never questioned or tried to change the way of body enhancement. Learning about nuclear bombs and such, he realized that he could have started at home instead of finding bigger things to learn. He understood that even something small could achieve great power and had fundamentally changed his approach to everything about growth. Naruto tested and rebuilt body enhancement from the ground to a new level. He even went far enough to make multiple levels for future generations. Body enhancement was a basic skill known by every shinobi, and it was a skill that boosted the physical abilities of the body with the usage of chakra. The extent of the boost depended on the chakra amount, chakra control and chakra quality. However, this skill only covered the body on the surface level and didn't go deep. Naruto understood his blunder and corrected it. He went deeper than the normal skill and covered the individual cells with his chakra, meaning he enhanced his body from a cellular stage. It heavily boosted his power that his previous level became fragile in his gaze. There were more than 37 trillion cells in his body, so the energy requirement was heavy, but the power-up was also similarly high. After that, Naruto went deeper to the molecular stage, and there were more than 40 million molecules per cell in his body. The enhancement was extremely heavy on chakra, but the result made him ascend to a level of power that was beyond his dreams. It was easy to achieve such a result only because of his regeneration ability, or he would have died before achieving the cellular level. Controlling chakra to a molecular scale was extremely taxing and difficult. It tested Naruto's skill and patience. There were more levels to build, as a molecule wasn't the smallest particle. There were atoms. There were electrons, neutrons, and protons. Further deeper would be the quarks, and then would be the preons. Each stage would completely transform Naruto and make the previous level look like a ring in the Sahara Desert. However, that was far off, as Naruto's chakra control was lacking for such success, and he was even unable to operate in a fight while using the molecular stage. He could only rely on the cellular stage. Nonetheless, it was more than enough. The cellular stage had pushed Naruto's physical power from a city destroyer to moon destroyer instantly, and this stage was still under work. It was still not fully optimized, as the real cellular stage would put him squarely on a planetary level or above. QB was made from the Jubi, which was formed from half of the planet's energy. QB was half of the Jubi, but that was the normal version, and Super QB was equal to the Jubi, meaning QB had half a planet worth of energy, and Naruto was 1/4 of that in chakra reserves. The level of energy contained in Naruto's body was immense, but he had always lacked the techniques to fully utilize such energy, and now he had found the way. The stages of power didn't just change his body, as it also changed all his techniques. It made all his skills skyrocket in power, since Naruto was building them up from a microscopic stage, meaning that a single basketball-sized fireball could contain power beyond his strongest attack. Naruto wasn't just powering up himself by a single point anymore, but divided his chakra into the trillions of cells for a powerful synergic affect, and using it with Sage Mode meant that his base would be enhanced. His cells would adapt and change. This in turn would continue his growth. Getting back to the situation, Centurion was unable to react after hearing the voice and found himself smashed into the ground. The impact was so strong and fast that he almost died. Naruto had moved too fast, surpassing light speed, and the ground beneath them had also been enhanced on cellular stage, or the island would have been destroyed from the impact. With his damaged body, Centurion was unable to put up a resistance and had his bones broken. He was barely conscious as he tried to speak through his broken windpipe. Naruto brought him up while holding him by the head, and finally let Centurion see his features. Looking at Naruto's armored form, Centurion shook with fear as he recognized the person and understood the danger. Naruto smiled at the result of his training and looked forward to perfecting it. With this power, he now had a proper fighting chance in the current world. Feeling happy, Naruto started the usual process and read his foe's mind. Centurion had the strongest mental defense, but after the beating, his ability was lowered while Naruto's abilities had been enhanced by his discovery. Even the mental skills were changed to follow his new path, and it made it possible to break Centurion. Naruto saw his history and understood him completely. Centurion was a person of the Roman Empire, who had continued to live till the modern times with the aim to rule the world. But at all times there had been powers that made that goal impossible. The man was cowardly and arrogant, but he was persistent and never gave up on his goal. His powers were also very interesting. He could manipulate spirits and possessed a very strong physique that was better than Naruto's base strength. Naruto could use such people to improve his base strength and mutate his genetic structure. Centurion would also be a strong servant. However, all that depended on the man. His persistence might lead to his final destination. Valkus, how does it feel? This is how your victims felt, Naruto muttered, as he made Valkus look him in the eyes. It was the first time the giant man felt tiny in front of someone. He felt fragile and weak in front of the emperor. Such physique, such strong spirit was beyond his level. No, that was not true. He had been taken by surprise. He could have won if he had just 30 minutes. Valkus glared back and tried to talk back defiantly while fighting against the terror-inducing aura. Naruto allowed it as he wanted Valkus to fight him, to break him completely and destroy his excuses. Oh, you think you can win? Valkus, do you really believe that you are superior to the combined will of humanity? Truly detestable. Your level of intelligence is truly detestable. Naruto let Valkus fall to the ground like a dead fish and walked around him. Naruto stopped and stepped on his back. However, I will let you struggle. Show me your futile efforts, Valkus. With those words, Valkus felt his body heal instantly, and his energy was refilled. His regen ability was slow and was weakened by the fog, so Naruto's assistance was appreciated. I will crush you like a bug for this assistance, Valkus growled with renewed vigor as he crawled to his feet and looked back at his foe. Naruto was carefree and his tone carried that image. Valkus, go along and play before I drag you down to hell. Valkus was sent flying with flick of his hand and had to stop himself from flying off the island. Normally he would have tried to escape, but he had lost too many times and couldn't endure any further humiliation. He had the chance to grow in power and escape wasn't guaranteed. Letting his foe bask in his arrogance, Valkus focused on his task and made the spirits his servants. He absorbed all of them and combined them into 10 super spirits. He fed 1 super spirit to Kayako, 1 to Zatara, and 1 to Abinsur to power up these powerful spirits, allowing them to reach a new level of power or regain some of their original level of power. Valkus combined all the spirits into his body to face Naruto, and he experienced a heavy power-up. He was sure that his foe would beg for mercy. He was sure that he could make Superman kneel. I hope you are done preparing, Valkus. I am a very busy person, so think of it as an honor that you got such a deadline. Naruto had meditated for 30 minutes while Valkus prepared, meaning Naruto was even stronger than when he had arrived. Your arrogance has made you blind. Can't you see the difference between our power? You will kneel and beg before your slow demise. Valkus spoke confidently with a smirk on his face as he walked towards Naruto with a slim ethereal blade. Naruto chuckled at his hubris. It was truly amusing. You have a gift for theatrics. Maybe you should have applied for it instead. Naruto smiled as he blocked the soul blade with his hand and crushed it. Valkos went from arrogant to being terrified within a single moment, and he found a hand shoved through him. Rasen Shuriken. Naruto used his wind manipulation to create tiny wind blades that attacked all of the cells inside of Valkos' body, while keeping him conscious. The man felt the pain of being ripped apart and not dying as Naruto also kept on healing him. It went on for a minute. Now, do you see the difference between then and now? I am sure you have realized your mistake, and realized that there was never a competition. You are just a bug that can be crushed anytime. Naruto sat down on a throne made of earth while Valkos found himself chained to a pillar. Valkos could only hear those words in silence as he was terrified of speaking. His fear of the emperor had been awakened once again at full force. He had been tortured during the time of the Roman Empire by his emperor, and it had put a deep fear into him that never disappeared because he didn't defeat the source. Naruto was much worse than his source of fear and gave him an enhanced terror. Valkos had lost without any resistance, and there was no doubt about it. Good, now you are thinking right. Valkos, you don't have to stop dreaming. I can make you the ruler of an empire. It won't be a small one, but one bigger than your imagination. I intend for humanity to spread across the universe, and I will give the talented individuals sectors to manage, a sector being a solar system. How does that sound? Isn't it mouth-watering? Naruto shared his dream with Valkos. It was just something he had only recently thought about, but it was the likely path for his journey. Valkos blinked and took in the image. It was much more than what he had desired. He wanted a planet, and he was getting a solar system, even though it was normal for him to die at the moment. I will do it. Naruto already knew the answer, and it was made easier by the fact that he knew the object of their greed. Getting up from his seat, Naruto's hand covered the servant's head. That's good, but now you have to suffer the punishment for your actions, Naruto said as he started the punishment and took Valkos away from the island. With their departure, the island collapsed into dust because of Naruto's new powers that were still in the experimental stage.